Good evening, Somers, and welcome to Somers Town Board Work Session, Thursday, October 3rd, 2019. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and be seated. Okay, before I open up public comment, I'd like to inform everybody. On the agenda tonight, number 2 is the Somers Sewer District formation discussion. So the discussion the town board's going to have this evening is about the mechanics of a permissive referendum, whether we're going to have a special election if we get enough signatures. I think this would be a good thing to have a vote on the sewer district so everyone's voice is heard. We would need a majority of the property owners for or against, but it's a decision the communities would make. And it would be only those two communities, Lincolndale and Shenorock. So if you're here tonight, you have technical questions about grinder pumps or how many linear feet of this or where the connections are going to be made. Are you below or above the gravity feeds? The Lake Sustainability Committee, who's been meeting since 2017, is having a meeting at Lincolndale Clubhouse at 7 o'clock tonight. That's where Ken, our town connected with Woodward and Curran, the town's engineer, will be discussing the details. So if you're here to ask questions about technical questions, you can get yourself over to the clubhouse. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to stay and comment or ask any kind of questions you have. So I'll make a motion to open public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Is there anyone here for public comment? I'm going to limit
3 minutes.
your statements to 3 minutes. Yes. Is that all right, Tommy?
Hi, Linda Luciano, 10 Walker Drive. Last week, I emailed Supervisor Morrissey, and I asked him if we were going to be on the agenda and if the engineer was going to be here tonight to answer many residents' questions, because people are just finding out about getting sewers in their district. He replied to me as, "Of course." Tuesday, I get an email from Supervisor Morrissey telling me that now we are not on the agenda and that there is this lake sustainability meeting at the clubhouse that people should go to ask questions. Oddly enough, at the same time as this meeting. It's quite obvious that you're trying to prevent the residents from asking the board questions about this project and keeping it hush-hush. Same way you didn't notify the residents this was even going on for the past 2 years. Because everyone in here right now did not know that they were getting sewers in their district. You've created animosity amongst the neighbors by doing what you are doing. You even have spies who run back to you and tell you what is being posted. Why else would this meeting just happen to be taking place now when the board members of the Lincolndale Clubhouse didn't even know about it? You don't want us here. That's how everybody feels. People watch the town board meetings because they cannot come and want to hear what is going on because you aren't telling them. So why not televise these secret meetings that are taking place at the clubhouse? You pulled this 10 years ago with the Park District too. Do you think we are all stupid? We know exactly what you are doing. Twice now in a decade, you have tried to push new taxes on Shenorock residents. When do the board members go up for re-election? Isn't it next year? This is not going to help you get re-elected. We pay your salaries. Over the last 2 weeks, we had 4 petition signings at the lakes, and after the first night, we had enough signatures for a vote. The amount of people who didn't know about this sewer project and thanked us and appreciated the fact that we spent $400 doing a postcard mailer to all 985 residents, something the town should have done. It is nice to be appreciated because the people who want the sewers have done nothing but criticize people on social media when they have helped us post information. We were sent screenshots from neighbors showing things that they said like we were mental patients and trolls. Why? For bringing awareness to this project and posting information so residents know what the heck is going on. Why haven't they spread the news? The best comment is that the website is not a reliable source. Everything that's on that website, I got off of the engineer's report and on the town website. I personally found it funny when Mr. O'Keefe from Lincolndale mentioned me in a post saying that my house is a seasonal stream leading to the lake that probably carries some leached effluent in the spring when the ground is saturated. First off, my septic fields are 200 feet from this seasonal stream. My fields are also installed uphill and above grade in an 1,100-yard bank run fill pad with an equal distribution dosing tank. My septic system is equivalent to or better than most residents in an R40 zone. If all the septics were like mine, there would be no problems. I spent $40,000 on this septic, and will not get that money back. I don't need sewers, and neither do my neighbors. Again, you are not including the 4 houses next to us. None of us have saturated backyards from this seasonal stream, and this stream flows right past people who are not included in this district and should be. This type of behavior is not deserved. We are all adults with our own opinions, and we don't like what people are putting up on their website, or if they don't like what's being put up on our website or posting, don't read it. This is the very same thing that happened 10 years ago with the Park District. I don't tolerate bullying kids in the schools, and I don't tolerate it with adults. No wonder people don't want to come forth publicly.
Thank you.
The engineer mentioned at the
Linda,
last...
you're well over.
She can have my 3 minutes.
Excuse me, I will have order at our meeting. Okay, I will have order.
How about integrity?
Got that.
This
I
type...
will have order, ma'am.
Integrity.
Got it.
Well, we're trying.
Just, you know what, let him speak. Let him speak, and we'll get through the process.
The engineer mentioned at the last meeting that you have been meeting with Shenorock and Lincolndale Association, who are representatives of the community. Shenorock does not have an association, so who the heck have you been meeting with? Let me guess, people who want the sewers? This is total nonsense, and you know it. At no point have you reached out to us, the residents who are here now. The whole thing is very shady. You have spent thousands of dollars on an engineer that has things wrong in his reports and things that are based on assumption, which is misleading to people. They kept hearing $1,200, and now they find out that they're paying more, thanks to our mailer. People want to speak to the board and get answers from you since you were the ones making the decision on our behalf. You were the ones deciding on this project, not this engineering firm. Or are they? I just found out that Mr. Barbagallo has a brother that lives in Shenorock who will be paying minimally. Isn't that coincidental? So who is pushing for these sewers? A Somers resident, who the board is using for this project and many others, whose firm will be making $6.6 million off of this project and is benefiting off of his fellow residents. If this isn't a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. You keep referring to Mr. Barbagallo as town engineer, but I thought we had a town engineer. It'd be nice if the board took into consideration that to make it fair for everyone, the finance cost should be the same across all residents like Peach Lake did, with every resident paying $1,200 a year. The way it is laid out right now makes no sense at all to all the people who will be paying over that $1,200 average. We are all getting the same benefit, why not all be the same? Especially when the comptroller's office states that the average for a special district is $845 a year. Most of us are over that threshold. People need to understand these costs written in the report are estimated. That cost will go up as construction costs go up, and we all know it will because what project comes out on budget? The board is basing the costs on the assumption that just because someone has a bigger home or lot, that they make more money and can afford these taxes. Tax the rich. This is bias. Make it equal for everyone. In July 2014, I asked the town board and engineer how much of Shenorock affects the watershed water that goes to New York City. The engineer had no answer for this, but did say it is a minor percentage. I asked the same question at the last meeting and still no answer. That's because it's not about septic going into the lake and the water system. It's about using the lake and the sewers to create a new tax district to generate revenues from us because of the businesses you have lost in town. People are not happy you aren't looking out for their best interests. two people from two different municipalities brought to our attention that you are not going about the permissive referendum correctly, and I found it on the comptroller's website as well. An example, in Yorktown, 315 parcels are getting sewer at a cost of $14.2 million and 5.5 miles of sewer line. Their debt cost for 30 years is $750 to $800 a year. The town board prepared a town petition that will be mailed to all parcel owners. A minimum of 51% of owners would have to agree before the town board can consider approval of this project. So why is a neighboring town handling the process differently? Why is their project costing less? Why did you make us seek out people to sign these petitions when you should have mailed it out to everyone like they did? We believe it is the responsibility of the town board, as per Section 194 of Article 12 of the Town Law of the State of New York, to determine whether or not the establishment of this district is in the best interest of the community. Table 9 in the engineering report, capital cost summary table, the capital cost number is incorrect. Numbers are wrong on Table 10 under parcel count. It totals 992 parcels, not 985. On Table 10, the average total cost per parcel is incorrect for both 2A and 2B. Addresses are missing, names are wrong, there are duplicates. Costs are missing on some homes. I don't know why you are paying this company a lot of money, and I'm finding mistakes. God knows what else is wrong in their report. Forget the bond. Why not make people pay up front for their sewer? What would the cost be? $40,000, $50,000, $60,000? I guess keeping your septic is cheaper and pumping it out every couple of years doesn't sound so bad. People who will be paying a lot don't need it, and people who will be paying very little do need it. The cost summary is based on assuming the town will get $38 million in funding for Phase 2, and that is how they based our financing cost. So if they don't get close to the $38 million, our cost may double or triple. I don't know anyone who wants to pay more in taxes. It's bad enough the school tax goes up every year. We have a $93 million budget with another $13 million borrowed in bonds. That is what the board is doing here. Let's keep borrowing. Grinder pumps will be used on parcels that have their connections below the main, which means a grinder pump will be installed and residents have to pay to operate and maintain these pumps. Residents' electric panels have to have a 20-amp breaker available to plug into. The town can raise our taxes and add things to our tax district when modification or repairs have to be done at any time, and most people won't even know about it because they don't get their tax bills in the mail. In fact, most people don't even know how much their taxes are. They only know that their mortgage payment has gone up. We have posted the tax rate sheet on somerssewers.com, which is from the tax assessor's office, so residents can see what the tax rates are and what line items they are paying. We have also posted a sheet from 2014 engineer's report showing the pros and cons of the different sewer systems they want to put in. I don't know why this wasn't in this year's report. Do people realize that if they get sewers, they have to add water backup and service line coverage to their homeowner's policy, adding another cost of approximately $100 a year to their bill? Call your insurance company. I did. All I know is that bigger homes will be built on these little lots. They say they are so dense. They say they're so dense now, just imagine how much denser it will be afterwards. If people want to put an addition on, they cannot build on septic fields, so that is an extra cost to homeowners to remove it. A question at the last meeting was asked, and the engineer could not answer. How many miles of roads will be dug up? Well, I did my research. Over 22 miles. Guess how long it will take for the town to pave those roads? Too long. We believe the financing of this proposal was inappropriate, if not illegal. Over the years, the Somers Town Board has paid $200,000 out of the town's general fund to finance a study for a park district and now this sewer district. This money from the general fund was advanced not on behalf of all Somers residents, but on behalf of the promoting individuals. The town can only recoup that money if the sewer district is established, and thereby the town has lost both its objectivity and credibility to judge as to whether or not this district is in the best interest of the community. Now, my speech had many residents who have sent me things to please ask, to please state, and they've also asked lots of questions, and of course these questions were made up expecting the engineer to be here. So these are just a few things I want the public to know because I'm going to get these answers, and they will be posted on somerssewers.com. Have you looked into other firms that might be cheaper, or is this firm the only one you use? You keep referring to Mr. Barbagallo as town engineer, but don't we have a town engineer? There are financially responsible ways to improve the ecology and the aesthetic appearance of the lake, and you are not doing it. The engineer says there is grant money available under the Water Quality Improvement Program for dredging the lake if all eligible upgrade improvements to stormwater and sewer are done. So you installed the filtration system down at the lake for $500,000. Is that considered stormwater improvement? You have $300,000 left, so why can't we use that to do something to help the lake? And now, can't you ask for more grant money since you installed this system? We don't need to have sewers to get more grant money. Why are 103 residents getting sewers for free in Phase 1 with the $10 million that was earmarked for Lake Shenorock, stated in East of Hudson Water Quality Fund on westchestergov.com? And now Lincolndale is getting half. How did Phase 1 get decided? Who picked out these homes and why? What will the vacant parcel buy-in be afterwards? $5,000, $10,000? In the East of Hudson Water Quality website, it says that the money can be used for rehabilitation or replacement of septic systems that are failing or likely to fail in certain areas. Lake Shenorock is listed as a focus area, not Lincolndale. So why haven't you used this $10 million in the last 21 years to do this in Shenorock? This money is not just for sewers, as stated on their website. Last meeting, and the engineer corrected me and said Phase 1 doesn't have borrowing costs, which means they get it for free, doesn't it? They start paying their O&M and buy-in surcharge as soon as they are hooked up. He said when Phase 2 starts borrowing, it goes on to Phase 1 residents. So if there's a Phase 2, if and when you get funding and you borrow money, you will be including these 103 residents in the financing. It's a question. You have said two different things recently. At first, you told us that you were bringing the sewer pipe within 5 feet of the homes. And at the last meeting, you said it includes the hookup. Which is it? In the engineer's report on page 3-6, number 3.5, the third sentence is not complete. It says, restoration of the blank will include replacement of disturbed lawn surfaces with topsoil and seed. Again, residents have put up rock wall, shrubbery, walkways, fencing, and it may have to be removed, but it doesn't state about fixing it in the report. Again, more costs to our total debt, correct? Will septic tanks be filled and will be part of the total cost? Easements may need to be put onto residents' properties if it is easier for them to access a neighbor's connection. Who pays for legal fees to do this? O&M costs will go up every year because that is usually what happens, correct? If people don't hook up to the sewer and do not pay for that portion that is on their tax bill, will you be putting a lien on their home? You say Horton is not included, but you're also leaving out people within Shenorock that should be in it. Why? Why aren't people along Route 118 and Lake Road getting sewers? They live right across from the reservoir and have stormwater runoff too. One of the streams that comes through the preserve and into Shenorock goes through Lake Hill Estates on Mancini Drive and dumps into the lake, and yet nobody in those communities are being held accountable for their stormwater runoff that ends up in Lake Shenorock. Why? 2 pump stations for Phase 1 are going on Lakeview Drive and Lakeshore Drive north. The Shenorock one would need to be expanded, it states, in Phase 2 to accommodate additional flow. And 2 additional pump stations need to be put into Lincolndale. In the report, it states that the Phase 1 pump station at Shenorock would need to be expanded in Phase 2A to accommodate additional flow. Why wouldn't it originally be engineered to handle the flow? Just doesn't seem to make sense. What is the upside for me to get a sewer system, somebody asks. I'm not planning on adding another bathroom or addition. How can it be allowed for someone to tell me what to do with my property? Why can't people who do not want the sewer system option out and let the others have it? Why is it all or nothing? I just got a tax break, which will be washed out and then some for this sewer hookup. We should not be forced into doing something on our property because the board says so. Why don't they connect the houses around the lake that are causing the water problem and leave the rest of us as is? Now, as
Can I
I...
ask you a
s-
question?
You sure can.
Did you give those questions, some of them obviously very good questions, to the engineers? Have you gotten a response
I
on
was
that?
told the engineer was going to be here tonight, so no.
That's kind of what we all thought.
Yeah.
All right.
And we never got an email that
Okay.
there was a meeting at the club.
Ma'am, you'll have a chance for public comment.
Well, you know what my suggestion would be, if you pass them on to the town
Oh,
clerk.
I'm going to give it to Supervisor Morrissey right now,
All right, very good.
Well,
because...
you can give it to the town clerk, and we'll have your answers for you.
That's fine. And I would like to have them back in a timely manner because people want to know the answers to these.
Sure.
So,
We probably
can
can
we,
make a
move
copy
on
for
with-
you right now.
no, I don't need a copy. This
Oh.
is for
Can we
Patty.
move on with public comment then?
I'm done,
Okay,
okay?
thank you. Thank
What
you.
I'd like to know is about the vote. I brought the petitions. We had enough after the first night. I have 126 petitions, and there are many other people that would like to sign it, but I figured, you know what? We have enough for it to go for a resident vote. So I'll give this to Patty as well?
Yep.
Yeah,
how
so
they go.
under number 2 of our town board work session, we're going to be discussing that process, yeah.
Okay, so...
If you have them tonight, you can give them to our town clerk.
Okay, so am I waiting for you to discuss it, or should we find out what the, how
This
it
is
works?
public comment. I'd like to
Okay,
continue
no,
with
that's
public
fine.
comment.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Anyone else here for public comment? Sir?
Supervisor Morrissey, members of the council, good evening. My name is John Morden. I live on 16 Flower Drive, Mahopac, New York, and we are on phase 2 of the sewer. I'm a proponent. I support you 100%. I have a few questions, though. The first one is, we have been told that phase 1 is a grant, meaning it doesn't cost the people any money. Why is there a bond issue of $13 million?
Why,
What's the, I'm sorry, why is what?
Why is there a bond issue for phase 1 for $13 million if there's a grant of $10 million that pays for the sewer in phase 1?
well,
Doesn't make sense to me.
you know, I would assume that that is for the capital costs that would allow to be built out, and which would then include part of phase
The 13
2.
million is
Well, that
is
doesn't
part of the
say it.
WIA grant application. That's a grant application for another $3 million. To be eligible for that $3 million, we had a bond that, the whole
But
project.
the draft of your bond issue states, I have it with me, but I'm pretty sure you know that too, that you try to raise financing through a bond issue, municipal bond issue, for $13 million for phase 1. If there is a grant for $10 million for phase 1, I wonder where is a $13 million bond?
No, the money will never be borrowed if the grants come in. We had to adopt the bond resolution in
Yeah.
order to qualify for the application purposes
Yeah.
for the WIA grant.
Uh-huh,
The 10 million is coming from the county,
yeah.
and the 3 million is coming, we hope, from WIA. Provided that happens, the 13 million that the town board passed a resolution for
Yeah.
will never actually be borrowed. So it was just.
So you do a bond issue for $13 million,
We did a
which is
bond
going
res-
solely
we did
to
a bond-
investors,
we did a
not
bond-
to private
no, no.
people, or,
We did a bond resolution,
yeah.
which was merely the authorization to go borrow it if we need to.
Sure.
But if we get the money from the agencies,
Yeah.
it'll never be borrowed.
That doesn't state that, by the way.
But it can't state it in there.
Why not?
All it can do is state.
It also states that if you don't pay it, that the houses will be
No,
levied,
no, but it also
taxes are
states,
paid.
it also states in there that if there's going to be an actual borrowing,
Yeah.
that it will come back to the town board for further
No, it
proceedings.
says minus any grants for
Exactly,
phase 1.
exactly.
But you still don't, if you get a grant is given by the state, or the county in this
Right.
case, for $10 million. So $10 million is the cost of phase 1. Not $13 million, not $28 million, or any amount of money.
Okay, so this is
Exactly.
public comment, and we appreciate you bringing that issue up.
Well, yeah.
Asked and answered.
Okay.
But without that resolution, we couldn't go after that 10 million that the county is
The
holding.
3 million.
Excuse me,
3 million from,
We couldn't go after
So
that
what
whole-
you're saying is basically
Sorry.
the state or the county guarantees the $10 million, despite that you
Correct.
borrowed the $30 million. I think the people might like to know that. I don't know. Anyway, so I had a question about the hookup fees. The hookup fees, people have to hire a plumber. And let's be realistic, that will cost people about $4,000 to $5,000. No, hookup fee. So when you do the sewer, it goes along the street, and then, you know, the people have to hire a plumber. The plumber's not going to do anything until he gets paid. So there are not many people, I think, I might be wrong, but that can just put down $5,000. It's a little off. But if you do it, that's what has to be done. So why doesn't Somers, the town of Somers, add something to the bond issue, for instance, so that people can pay that on a monthly basis and a lower amount of money? That would help the people. I mean, also it would help a lot of negative people become suddenly positive. I mean, you spread it out over 20, 30 years or something like bond issue is 30 years, normally speaking. I mean, instead of, you know, a lot of money, it becomes a small amount of money. I also believe that towns should hire the plumber so that people don't have to do that, and then they pay the plumber directly. Otherwise, you know, you can do a small loan amount to the people with low interest, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, a lot of towns do that stuff, so it's a little bit.
At our last meeting, our discussion was, in what way could we
Mitigate.
bring plumbers in at a low rate to do what you're saying? And
Yeah.
your other idea is interesting.
Well, yeah, okay.
You know, so if they want the job, here's the rate, which would be lower than would be on the market.
But if, you know, if people have to hire those
Yeah, I understand
plumbers
your
themselves,
saying.
it's kind of,
I
you know,
understand you're saying.
it's a free-for-all.
If we had the engineers here, we probably would
Yeah.
be able to get those
I don't want to
numbers.
talk about engineering because he's not here, so it doesn't
Right,
make any
right.
sense. So, yeah. One question, which is kind of engineering and financial. What happens if something happens in Peekskill, if pipe breaks, et cetera, et cetera? What's going to happen with Somers? Are we responsible, Somers residents responsible for payment of repairs, or what are we doing here?
It's
You mean at the
Is it just
county,
Peekskill that
at the
pays?
county plant you're talking about?
The county plant, yeah.
Yeah, well, that would be the county's problem.
Okay, so it will not be increasing the fees that Somers has to pay.
I don't know if they would amortize that with all the people who put in from Yorktown, Peekskill, Cortland, et cetera.
Another question, the payment that has to be paid to the county is on a 10-year plan. Would that be able to extend it to, let's say, a 20-year plan? It will lower the amount of money for the residents of Somers, the people involved in the sewer. You know, instead of $1,200 a year, it suddenly becomes a more, I would say almost a little bit more appetite to pay that amount of money for sewer.
I think the sewer is $180. That's the lease amount that we're paying Peekskill.
Yeah,
That goes for 10 years, then drops.
yeah.
Okay, I
But,
mean, that's the plan.
you know, but your financing is based on the 10-year plan. If you look at the picture, you know, the payment is made for a 10-year plan, which includes your finance plan. So it doesn't really coincide with each other. If you're financing, you do municipal bond, it's 30 years, not 10 years.
So this is,
So it should be
This is
adjusted
the-
accordingly.
This is the, this is the dilemma about communicating this. We put a plan in place, a maximum plan in place.
Yeah.
So you can essentially go to the state, get it approved. There's 25% leeway in that plan. We've said that.
Yeah,
The idea is to mitigate the cost to the homeowner on connection. But we really don't know the details of that yet until he starts getting down on the ground and starts working with the individual situations that we're dealing with.
sure, yeah.
We talked about easements. We said the town would pick up the legal process for easements. We talked about making connections through the back of the properties where we can get easements.
Yeah,
We also recognize that there are going to be some challenging situations, and we're going to just have to figure out how that's going to work. But that's a fair question. It's not everybody.
No.
But as a policy board, I'm looking for the engineers to get back and give us, those
yeah, sure.
details.
But if you make a
But-
plan, you know you should have been prepared for that. Yeah, you should be prepared for a lot of questions,
I think what
specifically the financial
We've
part of
been,
it.
yeah, we have been answering questions
We have,
last
right.
3 months.
You know,
the financial side.
I've been told that
Yeah, but
about
the
those
financial
so-called
side-
public hearings, but, you know, I didn't know there was anyone going on. So, you know, I would have been there. I mean, I would have shook hands and said, hey, glad, let's do sewer. By the way, let's do water too. You know, I mean, there's enough financing available from the state
think
and
it's
the
way
county
down.
that will do that.
I believe the engineers did ask, because we discussed it at one of our executive meetings, whether or not the county recapture program could be extended past 10 years.
Yeah.
And the engineers did ask that question of the county, and the answer was no. they could not make an exception for
Okay.
one municipality because it's uniform throughout the county.
That's
that
fine,
It's 10
but
years.
you add the financing cost in a 10-year period, while you do a bond issue if you need financing over a 30-year period. So that calculation is wrong. So when people see $1,200, that we have to pay on an annual basis, they say, oh, why? But the financing part is 60% of that. So take that away and spread it out over a 30-year period. Now the money becomes less. Now you say to people, hey, instead of $1,200, it's maybe $400. Oh, wait a minute here. Now, I mean, $400 is still a lot of money, let's
Yeah.
be honest, but it becomes more, marketable.
Right.
I think that's the right word. I think people will listen more and say, hey, yeah, okay, let's do this. I mean, even for $1,200, I'm in, don't worry about it. But, it's because I want it. And I know it offends a lot of people, but, I think we need sewer. But let's do it the right way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Well,
for
I
your
think all
comment.
of your ideas are interesting, and all along we said, how can we reduce that cost as much as possible? And if some of those ideas are legally possible, which I certainly
Hire
don't
me as a
know.
consultant.
Right, and that's what
Yeah.
we will ask.
I'm expensive, though.
So we do,
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here for public comment? Thank you.
If you have those ideas, those questions, we'll answer them.
Yeah, I have his letter.
Okay.
Good evening, Board. My name is George Lux. I'm a resident of Lincolndale. I've been to the last two meetings you have at the townhouse here, and I appreciate you giving us another round to talk tonight. I asked last meeting, when we were told that when we got the petitions, what law was applicable. I was told 209, and then Tommy was gracious enough to tell me 209E. I don't know if it was an oversight, but if you actually read that law,
I was reading it on my iPad during the meeting,
well, I don't know if it was cherry-picked, the first sentence that you mentioned, but if you read a little further, it also says that election law shall take place, same as a elected official running for a public office. And if you look at one of the petitions for the fire district, on the bottom it has the name of a witness that affirmed, but that wasn't mentioned. You made things extremely difficult trying to get a notary public to meet with 40, 50 people when it wasn't necessary. So that whole sentence should have been explained, not just the first and left the second part off. That really annoyed me the next
It
day.
had to be done like a deed or something where
There-
that's how come you needed a
There is a
notary.
procedure where you can use the same process as you do for nominating petitions, but we all know how they are challenged. So I always recommend that we go with notary publics because it makes the petition
Salad.
very solid.
Well,
And that's your objective, to
I
bring
mean,
it to a vote.
Right, and it
I
really,
can-
it's
I
moot,
can-
it's
Working
really
against
moot at this
yourself.
point, because from what we've heard,
It is, but it was
Well over
rather-
the 50.
It made things very, very
made it
difficult.
George, the problem was, and I've been through this before, is if you had got them in without a notary, then everybody can challenge it and say, oh, did this guy sign it? Did this do it? It would have made the process longer, and it might have called into question some
Well-
signatures. It would have said, they would have looked at the records and say, hey, my name's Thomas A. Garrity.
I see the
signed Tom
point,
Garrity.
but that should have been brought out that night. 'cause
I didn't know. I mean, I
I
just
read
read
it
the-
the next day, and I said, geez, it seemed to me like we cherry-picked half of it and left the other half
I
off.
just read the
But
first
if your
line.
objective is to bring on a vote, you're better off.
Okay,
Trust me. It might have been a
I'll take
pain.
your word for that, but
It might have been a pain to do it.
Right.
But it's done.
that probably would have been something good to bring up that night, though. You can't blame people for thinking maybe you just made things hard for the sake of making
No,
it hard.
I made it hard so
It- you know.
it couldn't be challenged.
Sometimes pre-warned is pre-armed, you know what I mean? A couple points I'd like to bring up tonight is, I don't know exactly, we have our Lake Committee in Lake Lincolndale proposing that we want done what was in Chenock with stormwater. Nobody seems to exactly know what was done with stormwater. We all know all the experts, our lake management, the engineers. It's been in the newspaper, it's been in various articles. It was in your newsletter you sent out about the proposed sewer districts. Our unique position in Lake Lincolndale seems to be stormwater. Everybody says that. We have our lake committee proposing that we want done what was done in Shenorock. I spoke to an engineer from the county, And I asked him, how do you take nitrogen and phosphorus out of the water? UV lights, it was a chemical treatment and some sort of other technical filtration. I don't know if that was done in Shenorock or not, but I'd like to know, because I've had residents ask me, our lake is still green with blue-green algae. I've lived there all my life, and I've never seen it last this long. And again, you say you're taking a holistic approach, but yet all the experts suggest that stormwater is the big problem in Lincolndale. But okay, I'm quite sure your engineers are correct that there may be some septics leaking into it, and that's fine. But I don't understand why. To me, it seems like we're killing a mosquito with a sledgehammer by making a huge sewer district. I don't my septic, nothing wrong with it. I pay, pump it out every 2 years. Mine doesn't even drain into the lake. I don't know if that's possible. That one is, I'd feel a lot more comfortable about this if you guaranteed us that 10 years from now there's going to be stormwater. We're working on it.
Well, George, you heard it, because this is not the first time you brought that up.
No.
And we did talk about, we did get a grant from the Environmental Facilities Corporation to do those retrofits in Shenorock.
Right.
This year, we're doing the same thing for Lincolndale. Then we heard from the DEC that they're no longer approving that type of stormwater retrofit. We had our grant package all ready to go, but we'll be putting one in for next year.
So I guess
To deal with
I know-
stormwater.
I know your engineers aren't here tonight. I'd just be
Well,
curious.
no, they're over in your clubhouse.
Nobody knew that. I mean, that could have been a good red alert tonight to tell everybody, listen, instead of going to the townhouse, there's a
Maybe
meeting.
so.
Nobody knew about it. I drove right by there, and I scratched my head saying, geez, what's all them cars for tonight? I didn't know it.
Yeah, I can't speak for the association notifying residents.
Okay. The other issue is I know the town did due diligence legally, what you had to do. You advertised it. I watched the municipal channel. I watched the town board meetings. I'm on the code red alert, but I did a lot of walking the last month or so and calls. Most of the people that I spoke to do not know anything about this. And I'm sure you did legally what you had to do, but the fact of the matter is private taxpayers had to send out postcards to let people know. Couldn't we have put a couple signs up or something around the lake letting them know?
Well, it's coming by all intents and purposes.
Right.
If we have the right number of signatures, what have you.
Right.
We will be scheduling a special election.
Okay.
And in preparation for that, we will be doing mailings to all the property owners.
Okay. But I mean, that's only after the petitions were signed, correct? I mean, could that have been done before, I guess, is what the question is? Because I know you did what you had to do, but
Well,
it's amazing how many
We've had 3
people...
public hearings, we've had this
I
lake
know all of
sustainability.
that. I know that.
George, how do you reach everybody?
Well, like I said, maybe
Yeah.
a couple signs up, going up level or around the lake, maybe. And I know you did what legally you had to do. I'm just saying it's mind-boggling to me to knock on doors.
We could always do
what
better to
sewers?
try to notify people.
Okay, that's all I'm
things.
asking.
It was an item of discussion, given past experience and some other things in town. In this one, I remember the discussion with the engineers. Let's make sure we do everything possible that
Right.
everyone will have input. If that didn't happen, or everyone didn't have the opportunity or the knowledge of that, I mean, that's truly unfortunate. I can tell you that was spoken about. There was a different campaign than in the past. If it wasn't sufficient in your eyes, then, maybe we can help us in the future. But that was the intent, even if it didn't become the reality.
Okay. And then last but not least, I know I run a lot of the fairs at the lake, and we have a lot of senior citizens up there, and I'm constantly asking, can we lower the price for them? And we do. I know the engineer stated, or I believe the attorney stated, that this is a county rule, that this goes by market value. I've never heard of that, and I've tried researching it. I don't understand why, if the school goes out for bond, or the town goes out for bond, or the fire district goes out for bond, it goes by your assessed value. And the other thing that seems very unfair to me is you could have a little old lady living in a big, brand-new house, and next door to her, you got somebody living in a shoebox with 10 kids. The little old lady living by herself is going to pay $2,200 a month, and the shoebox next door with 8 kids is going to get away with $1,200 a month. That seems very unfair to me. And somebody mentioned it last month, and I think that's more equitable, is to maybe put a meter on it. If you got a little old lady that showers once a day and makes a cup of tea, and you got somebody with 8 kids, why is she paying more than the other? That just seems mind-boggling to me, that it goes by market value instead of even assessed value. Or how about putting a meter on where it goes by the amount of effluent you're putting into the system? I don't like that at all. I think it's the disparity in what people are paying, $1,200 to $2,200, just doesn't seem right to me. And I like the idea of what the gentleman said there, is $1,200 to some of these seniors is a lot. And I had one of them crying on my shoulder that this is going to push her out of town. So I hope the town, I'm not opposed to sewers in general. I don't like how it's being implemented. I think you're making the district a lot larger than what it has to be. I'm sure some of them are running into the lake. It's stormwater, stormwater, stormwater. Your own engineers state that. So I think you'd have a lot more people swallowing this whole idea if you did the stormwater first and maybe the sewers after that. It's only my
If the
opinion.
grants were there, we would have, George.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks,
George,
thanks for your
one
comment.
thing, you're mentioning the idea about the meters, something we'll ask, but the question of the assessed value and market value, this is a question that I asked earlier because I didn't quite get that. But it's not the market value as of right this moment. It's the market value used by the assessor to determine the assessed value.
It really is the assessed value.
Okay.
And the county requires for this project not the assessed value on your tax bill, but the market value that the assessed value is based upon.
Correct.
And that's
So then
simply a
technically it's
requirement.
the assessed value.
Yes,
really
it's
not,
the
but
same
You still have
thing.
the same scale.
It's
It
the
really
You have a
same
It
thing.
lower
really
assessed
is.
value, you're going to pay a lower.
I reckon you might
sounds
want to
different.
tell people that, because it sounds
That's
a
why I
lot
asked the
more
question.
intimidating when they say
It
market
does,
value.
because you think, well, if my house goes up 100,000 next year, I got to pay more. The answer to
Right.
that is no.
Okay.
And just so you know, the answer to your other question about the old lady versus the woman with the many children, it's based on bedroom count, the operation and maintenance part of the budget. So it's going to be a unit cost. That's not based on assessment. There are 2 separate ways to collect the tax. The capital charge, whatever borrowing is going to be based on assessed value. The operation and maintenance of the district annually is going to be based on bedroom count, a unit charge formula. So the person that lives alone, unless she has a number of bedrooms, and she's not going to live there forever, won't pay as much as the woman who's got a very large house with in your example, 10 children.
I'm not sure I follow that. It's so, you said before it's assessed value.
Assessed value for the borrowings.
Okay.
But the operation and maintenance, whatever it costs to run the district annually, is going to be based on a formula that equates to the number of bedrooms in the house. And I think the way they did it was 1 unit for every household. I think that's the way the engineers structured it.
But, you know,
So you're going to get 2 separate line items in your bill. One will be capital charge, which is based on assessment, and the second will be operation and maintenance, which will be a unit formula. I believe it's 1 unit per household. So that should clear up your question of the person who lives by themselves versus the one with many children. That's not based on assessed value. The amount of sewage that goes through the system.
let me
It's
just-
based on a unit formula.
Let me just
Maybe
say
this should be
this.
called public discussion rather than comment. But George, I thank you for your comment and your participation. Thank you. And with that, is there anyone else here for public comment? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Bob Cavino. I live in Shenorock, Walker Drive. This is to you, sir.
I don't know if
Well,
I'm
you-
allowed
you-
to answer.
Can you do
Address the
All right, all right. Well, all right, on the
I
town...
may refer it to.
Okay. On the town website, there is a list of homes in the sewer district. So if a home is not listed, does that mean that that home is not in the sewer district? And you sent this information to the controller, so if it's incorrect, what happens? I thought maybe you'd answer that.
Okay, so, Mr. Town Attorney,
Okay.
If it's not
if
on
there's
the
an error-
list, then
Right.
it wouldn't be in the district.
It's not in the district. Okay. I just needed to clarify that.
Now, is that, are you, that sounded like a leading comment.
No, no,
So, I mean,
Was it
if,
error? Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm not, I'm just
okay,
asking the
so, well,
question.
let me pose this question. If there was an error in the report we sent to the controller's office,
Then you'd have to go back and reopen the proceedings and correct the error.
okay,
That list was culled by the assessor and the engineers, and
Engineer,
then
right.
reculled by the assessor. So hopefully it was,
But that would be an
Okay,
onerous
correct. So
process,
it-
right, to reopen?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yes and
I
answer.
just,
it would reopen the whole process.
Yeah, we'd reopen that.
So it's not just
That would be an
a
onerous.
clerical issue that you just
No.
change it, right?
We probably
That's
would, you know,
That's your
so-
question.
okay. I just want to pile on what George said about people not really understanding what's going on with this situation.
Yeah, it's
I have a
complicated.
friend who works up at Stop and Shop. I go there all the time because I'm retired. But I spoke to him and I said, "Where do you live?" His name is John. He said, "I live on Ross Drive." So I believe he's in phase 1. I believe he's like about 3 houses up from the lake. And I said, "John, you know anything about it?" He goes, "Well, my neighbor was telling me about it, and it sounds good." He goes, "I'm going to get sewers. I want sewers." I said, "Well, do you know you have to pay?" He says, No, I thought it was for free." And I'm going, "No, you got to pay." I says, "You know, your house is probably the same size as mine. I'm a 1,800 square foot home. I'm looking at $1,200 a year. I have to pay that? Oh, I don't want it then." So I'm just thinking a lot of people don't know what's going on here. You know, they honestly don't. They think it's free. You don't get anything for free. You know.
Don't we know that?
Okay. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you very
Right,
much.
thank you.
I thought you gave Linda 3 minutes.
All right, ma'am, we'll do someone from that side of the room, then we'll go over here.
Thank you. I won't hold. I just want to say,
Say your name and,
my name is Marion Murtha,
Hi,
and I live
Marion.
in Lake Lincolndale. And I just want to thank you for your service, sir.
All right, ma'am, this is public comment, not greeting.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
Really?
We're trying hard.
I think you are. I do believe. And you all live in Lake Lincolndale, right? Or and Shenorock? You all live here? You don't? No. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I apologize. Well, you know, I didn't know this. Look, I just want to tell you, I'm a senior citizen. I'm going to be 74 in November. And I guess I didn't do my part. I don't read the newspaper every day because one day it's my knees, the next day it's my back, the next day it's my neck, my shoulders, you know. It's tough being old. And I think that you might understand. I'm looking at you. You're like, I'm probably older than most of you here, so you better respect me.
yes, ma'am.
We do.
I know. I'm not trying to make light of it, because I really want to tell you, I didn't even know about this until I picked up the paper one day and I saw my address and my name in the paper, and that was like about a month ago, and I freaked out. And if it wasn't for my neighbors who spent their money to put postcards in the mail, I probably wouldn't have even known anything more than what I did. I mean, I'm sorry, I am really upset because, you know, the older you get, it's not that easy, you know? You have a limited income, you know.
Well, ma'am, you,
No, I know, please, I'm
no,
sorry.
you will have a chance to vote on this.
We will?
When we have a special election. Yes,
I'm
so
you'll vote.
because that's what I found. Well, you know,
Every
when I saw-
property owner will have a vote.
it was like around September 12th, and I see the article in the newspaper, and I happened to come to town hall to pay my taxes. So I went up to the town hall. While I was there, I had seen my name in the paper and my address, and I went up to the town hall, and there was an office with it was where Mr. Wolf's office, you know, over there, and there's an office in the back where there's a woman in the back there, and I said to her, what should I do, you know? And she told me, she referred me to the town, the website, and so I went, you know, I figured, well, it was so overwhelming to me, you know, and so much detail and everything. I mean, you know, when you get older, you don't understand all that stuff. I'm a simple person.
This whole process is overwhelming
It's
for a
very,
lot of us.
and that's why I wanted
And
to
that's why we
thank
have
you,
professionals
because
helping us.
I can appreciate that you've probably done a lot, you know?
Thank you.
But I just, you know, so I pick up the paper, and I'm reading the paper, and it says, you know, so I said to the woman, I went up there and I said, well, you know, what's going on here? I paid my taxes. I went upstairs and I said, I read this thing about the sewers. I said, what's going on, you know? And she said, well, go to the sites. And she said, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Well,
I said,
Not the right answer.
no, but you know, like,
and where was her office?
in town hall here. So you know, nothing I can do about it. I mean, you know, my taxes are going to go up. I'm seeing my name in the paper. You know, they're going to come on my property. We've been living there for over 30
So
years.
hopefully, you know, this has all been a learning experience tonight for many of the people in this room.
It was scary. It was terrifying.
Okay, so
Understandable.
if what was,
know?
if what was submitted tonight, meaning 100 signatures,
And-
you only needed 50 signatures.
But I think
to-
a lot
Ma'am,
of
let me
people
finish.
still don't know, sir. They really don't. They don't even know.
Well, we're going to have to do a better
There-
job getting that information out to make sure everyone has the facts that they need.
Yeah, they don't
Thank
even
you.
know.
No, thank you.
I just have one question here. So I read the paper. This was in the September, the Northern Westchester. I have one question, and I'm done. And I'm sure you'll be happy about that. The board approved a series of resolutions last week, such as to adopt a negative declaration, meaning the board could approve the creation of the district without an extensive environmental review. What does that mean? What does that mean?
I think that's right.
What?
Well,
A neg deck
it
means that where you're going to put in
Without an
what
extensive
the
review?
process that's going has been determined that there should, correct me if I'm wrong, but that there is not going to be a large adverse impact
On the
environment.
Right, what it means is that the board did not require an environmental impact
Okay.
statement, but it did provide for a long-form environmental assessment form.
Okay.
And there was enough information contained in that that enabled the board to conclude that there would not be a negative impact on the environment. So there was an environmental review
Impact.
performed.
There was.
There was, absolutely was.
Oh, okay.
It's a state requirement, the State Environmental Quality Review Act. And so it's required by state law to do this.
Yeah, because when I called the DEP, they told me that you can't even put a shovel in the ground without approval. So,
You're right.
By
did
all
you
means,
get
right.
approved?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I wanted to know. I
Thank you
wanted
for
to
your
make
comment.
Well, thank you for protecting the environment. That's good.
Yeah, you know, that's why we
Absolutely.
live here.
Absolutely.
That's why we live here.
Everybody's got a responsibility
love
to
the
protect
country.
that. We love the country, love the environment. You're
Okay.
right.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
anyone else here for public comment? I think I saw some hands, ma'am?
My name is Susan Best, and I live in Lake Lincolndale. I'm very happy to live there, too. I have a USDA rural development mortgage for low-income people. It was approved for a shoebox. I am the old lady who lives in a shoebox. And When I moved into that shoebox, the roof was leaking, the place was just an absolute wreck. It was all I could afford, but to me it was like heaven. I felt like I had died and gone to heaven. I come from Manhattan, and I love my neighbors. I'm so happy to be there. And as far as this board is concerned, I always had this sense that Somers was run very well. I really just get a sense that good things are happening in Somers. And I do have a lot of respect for the board. When I see the development and so on. But the problem is it seems to be going very upscale, you know? And I think that may be good for some people. But for people like me, it's scary. How long will I afford to be able to stay here, to live here? Now, my federal mortgage has a built-in, not too many people know about a USDA rural development mortgage, which is what I have. It will give me a subsidy. If the taxes go beyond what I can afford, they'll kick in a subsidy. You know, so I can stay here for pretty much for the rest of my life, but it also puts me deeper into debt. It's a very complex mortgage, sort of complex like this sewer business. It's as complex as that. So I just wanted to be the voice of the old ladies living in shoeboxes and how we are frightened, and just thank my neighbors for being here. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else here for public comment? Yes.
But not for the sewer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
just
fine.
one-
It's open for everything.
I know that, but I figured.
You want to let them finish?
I too just want to make the comment that
Name and address,
Oh,
please.
sorry, Lisa Healy, 7 Magnolia Drive, Lincolndale, Lake Lincolndale. I always felt that the board was running the town as best they could until this sewer district took place. And honestly, I would like to understand the thinking why you felt it was best that you decided for these neighborhoods that you could vote on this. And I mean, ideas are coming up at this point when you've already approved it and you're like, oh, that's a good idea. Are you humoring us? Or is it really a good idea? I don't even think, you say it's complicated. You as a board don't even understand it. There are still so many unknowns and uncertainties that it shouldn't have even been decided on at this point. Yes, everything is moot now. What I would like you to know is we are feeling that there's a lot of underhanded situations taking place. Those are the optics that are taking place. First of all, details are changing with each meeting. There's not a consistency. You've made it difficult with the petition. And the optic was you are making it difficult for us to get it done. Tonight, another optic. Not having the engineers here, but having them at the Lake Lincolndale Clubhouse. You knew it. You told Linda to get the word out. You knew it, Mr. Morrissey.
Yeah, I agree.
And you're working with Mike O'Keefe from Lake Lincolndale. I guarantee he is at that clubhouse. He didn't think to send out an email to the association that the engineers were going to be there. I would have gotten that because that is the one email I get as a paying member of Lake Lincolndale Property Owners Association. So I have to say, I'm very concerned, even now going into the vote. I am going to stay and listen to your discussion because I would like to understand the methodology behind this vote. What are the requirements? Do you actually have a procedure and a process that is going to be followed? Or is this something that we're just going to make up now?
Thanks for your comment. Anyone else here for public comment?
Joe Luciano, 10 Walker Drive. I have something prepared to read. I'm going to try not to read it, but what I do want is I have questions and I'd like some answers from whether it's the attorney or you gentlemen. Who decided on 103 homes for free?
Joe, this is public comment. Give us
Well,
your...
if you want me to read what I have to read, you will totally dislike it. You will not want it on TV. So you have a choice to answer the questions.
Read your comments. Read your comments. You're going to call me a criminal?
No,
You're
no,
gonna say I
no,
have
no,
integrity?
I'm not going to do
Go ahead
that.
and put it on the record.
I'm asking you a question. Who decided? You answered some of these other people's questions. No one from the... No one?
We didn't turn you off. There's another one. We're going to be accused of turning you off.
Give him a mic. Give him a mic.
Anytime I asked for a question at any of the meetings, the board members never answered the question, and many of the questions the engineering firm could not answer. So, at what point will a board member answer my questions?
Those 103 properties are the most impactful to the lakes. That's what.
So why not just give them their free sewer? You just said it. They're the ones impacting the lake.
Because you can't set up a sewer district for 103 parcels. When you establish a sewer district, it has to be.
But you can. You can.
But that's short-sighted.
How is that short-sighted? Tell me.
Once again, comment.
They're the most impactful. We're not saying that the others aren't impactful.
Okay.
Joe, don't forget, the $10 million is coming from the DEP in New York City, controlled by the county of Westchester. And the idea of it is controlling what goes into eventually the reservoirs, and if we can save the lake along with it. So they would say, but there's a greater impact than just the 103, as Tom said. That's the most, and that's what we understand the engineers identified as. That's why.
Okay. So they identified the 103 homes. Now,
Yes, they
with that in other areas, like Brewster, they got free sewer because they felt they all impacted the district, the bodies of water. So if Somers is
You got to explain that. I mean,
Brewster got free sewer.
How?
They got free, whether you want to say,
for it? The
yes.
grant money?
Well, whether it's the DEP or DEC, they paid for it.
I mean, apples and oranges. I mean, I just need, we'll take it offline if you like, but
Okay.
free, just because you say it's.
No, they decided to give the people a metering bill with their water meter, and they installed free sewer, and they said it was free, that it was going to be covered. There are no finance charges on their tax bills. So whether they got it in grants or they got it because the New York City watershed felt they were impacting the reservoir more, I don't know. But, so you're saying the 103 homes are the ones that the watershed considers affecting the water body, but your district is way huger. Okay.
We put together an entire plan that started in the 3 phases. Essentially, we went to the first $10 million, and they went as far as they could. Now, the engineers worked all that out. I'm not that level of detail, right? Have to bring infrastructure in. You have to be able to go to the county and say, look, we want you to interconnect with us, and it's got to be large enough for all that to happen. And so there are things that are in our control or outside our control. So, I mean, and we're doing this in phases. I mean, in theory, we could do phase 1 and not complete the rest, right? In theory, that could happen. But there are some infrastructure charges that may be amortized in the entire district if that was the case. All right? I mean,
Again, it becomes a welfare fund.
well, I don't know what that means.
You don't know what that means?
No.
Well,
Can we just...
I know where there's a house where they put a sewer district in, and for 25 years, they never ran the sewer line up that street. So those houses pay into the district, but don't have sewer. It's not in this town, it's in another town. So what you're,
We don't want to do
But
that.
that's not what's going to happen.
That's not what's going to happen.
oh, you say no? Okay.
Okay, okay.
Okay. I've asked him, or the board, what's going to happen for the buy-in for the lots? You say there's no accessibility because they're not on they're not habitable at this point. But the answer of the board,
Buying for what lots?
buy into the sewer district, what's their cost going to be to buy in? Vacant lots. Undeveloped.
Excuse me,
Yeah, well,
excuse me,
okay.
we will have order.
The vacant lots are not part of the, part of the process, right?
But this board, because of the residents that are going to be paying for this, they want to know, well, why isn't it laid out what the cost is going to be as a buy-in for them?
Well, we're only, yeah, it's
It
like
would
you
be-
buy into a water district or
It
you,
would only be determined at the point in time that someone requests an extension of the district to include that vacant parcel, that those amounts can be calculated. The county the recapture of the county would start then, and then that vacant lot owner would have to pay back to the town sewer district those amounts that you all paid to get to where you are. So he doesn't get a free ride, whoever it is, but it can't be calculated now because we don't know at what point in time he's
Well,
going to
and-
request it.
And
So that should
also-
be written down somewhere as an established phrase of, in this district, when it starts and how it's going to be calculated.
The town does have the system in place for Somer Sewer District Number 1, for the water districts, for the Shenorock Water District, for instance. When someone comes into that district, they have to pay the recapture fee that everybody else is paid from day one. Those formulas are in place. They're in the code for the water district and for the Somer Sewer District 1. When this district starts to operate, there will be an ordinance for Sewer District Number 2, and those same parameters will be in it.
No, I understand it's complicated.
No, I
And
understand your
I think-
answer,
and
but
I
that
think-
answer
and I
was
think-
never given.
And I think Joe might have said that the last time we're together here, but when a new building goes up, usually the building pays for the building process, the cost of the building will pay for the interconnect into the sewer.
I'm not talking about that connection. I'm talking about the finance charges that are already going to be
Well,
paid
then-
by other
Yep,
residents.
it's a good point.
He
Okay.
explained it.
Next, Peach Lake did it up as per unit. I understand that's in Putnam County. You're claiming Westchester County, you can't do it per unit? The cost, the finance charge.
The assessment, the capital, the borrowing in Peach Lake was done on an assessment basis. The operation and maintenance in Peach Lake is done on a unit formula. The same
bedroom
way it's
basis.
going to be here if it goes forward. The same process. I was the attorney for Peach Lake.
By unit, maybe you could explain a little bit more what that
Wasn't
means.
it bedroom?
You say each one is one unit.
No, a typical home, I think it was determined to be a 3-bedroom home was the typical home. That was one unit.
Right.
If you had 5 bedrooms, you paid a little more. If you only had 2 bedrooms, you paid a little less.
So
But the typical home was said to be 3 bedrooms.
I think that
in
answers
Peach Lake.
an earlier
So they
question.
paid one unit.
I think that answers an earlier question someone said about, well, if someone is living alone in 1 bedroom and someone has 10 kids in a 5-bedroom, the bedrooms are thought to be an indicator of the usage of.
Absolutely. Because
of
that
the
lady who
system.
lives alone is not going to be living there alone forever. She's going to move out at some point, and then
So it's
presumably the bedrooms are going to be fully
It may be an
occupied.
imperfect system, but it's a way of determining approximately the usage that goes into it. So it's not a meter, but it's based on the same idea.
Does that answer your question?
But, okay, you're claiming that, but in
I'm not
this,
claiming
no,
anything,
you're claiming that. So how do I end up over 2,200 and somebody ends up $276 per year?
Because the capital borrowing is what fuels because it's based on assessment, you must
But you're
have-
saying
you
only
must
the
have-
you're saying only the finance charge, the other charge should be minimal. I have a 4-bedroom house, so I'm one part over the
Yeah.
3-bedroom.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you're not paying a lot for O&M. Most of your 2,200 is because of the borrowing when that occurs and the assessment you must have on your property.
So how come the 10 million isn't split between all the residents?
I can't answer that. That's an engineering question, I just don't know.
But that should be more of a legal question than,
The engineers formulated the plan.
they wouldn't answer the question either.
Well, I can't
Because the
answer.
project can't be done with $10 million. We can't sewer both lake
But
communities.
you're applying 10 million to 103 people, and then,
In phase one, we've stated time and time again, we are seeking grants every year. And we'll be seeking grants every year.
after you-
If we get $10 million next year, that'll be applied to the sewer
After you-
district.
after
$10
you
million next year, well, that'll be applied.
You're going to benefit from what's done in Phase 1, because if you're in Phase 2, that infrastructure is going to be in place, which allows you to connect. You have to start a sewer district somewhere. So there's got to be a Phase 1 to get to Phase 2 and Phase 3. The infrastructure has to be put in place. The pipes, the pumps, the generators, that all has to be put there. If it's, okay, so they're benefiting, you think, from being there for Phase 1, but if it wasn't there, you could never connect.
so is phase one going to pay finance charges at all?
Yes, when there is a borrowing for Phase 2, that
Everybody pays.
financing is going to be spread among everybody.
So let me say it a different way. If this is a 5-year project, when this starts, you're not going to pay, on average.
I understand
On
that,
average, okay,
yes.
this is average number, right?
Yes.
You're not going to pay 1,200.
You might pay 400.
You may pay
Yeah.
400,
Right.
because the rest, of 2/3 of the project's not done.
Yes.
As they go apply for grants, and then which is going to be a prerequisite to expand, apply for grants, they're going to borrow, all that portion then will get amortized around the district.
To everyone.
To everyone. Now, here's the little bit of a rub, because the last guy to connect is going to be paying overhead costs until he gets connected,
Yes.
right? I mean, and that's part of the process. We're explaining it,
Okay.
okay?
What has the town board done, as far as you say, zoning hasn't changed, but you're putting in a sewer district. Once you put in a sewer district, you invite other things, like you claim 9 acres is polluted, but you bring in a sewer line, somebody will claim 9 acres and put up a low-income housing unit, like the county, or the state, or the federal government. So what protection, before the sewers voted into place, is there for the residents of Shenock and Lincolndale? Because the lots are going to become open to be built on, which is going to increase Lincolndale's density. There aren't that many lots in Shenock. But you're also looking to invite other people who may want to come. So I'm curious, if not now, what are you going to vote in, and what's going to be shown to the people before you do it?
Putting in the sewer district is not going to change the zoning in the town of Somers in either one of these lake communities.
And the town owns.
You keep saying that, but it does change the zoning.
Just talking about 9 acres.
It doesn't change the zoning.
The town owns 9
No,
acres.
it technically does, because with the sewer, a septic area is usually larger than the house. So it does change the whole layout of both communities, okay? So, and I'm more worried about the other things. So what protection do we have against, you have 9 acres. Okay, I don't even know if you have our 9 acres drawn into the R10 zone anymore. But now that there's going to be a sewer line going across the front of it, the town owns it?
Yeah.
So what happens to that property?
Well, let me just say
Figure it
this.
out.
First off, there's probably $1 million of costs that have.
It won't matter if somebody's putting up 40, 50 units.
Well, let me just say, I mean, it's our property at this point, so we have a liability to clean this up. We assume the property from the homeowners association. So that's one thing we have to do. The town's gonna have to absorb the $1 million. Second thing is that the zoning's in place. I'm not planning on, changing the zoning. I mean, I don't think that's the mindset of the board.
There are no plans to change
And there's no
any
plans to
zoning.
say any of that.
No.
So that's off to the side. That could be developed as maybe residential, whatever the zoning is right now.
Okay, the other thing that you have abutting up to this sewer lines going in is Lincoln Hall property. It's huge. And are you going to give them access to the sewer lines?
They have their own system.
But if somebody's coming in to put it in apartment buildings or something else, their sewer system's not going to handle what a sewer line.
So here's the thing, you know, as Peekskill gives us access, there's a capacity, we're getting only a certain amount of capacity. We're not going to be able to just expand it. Just like we're going through the process of expanding this district here, we just can't, that hookup is in the preserve right now. We can't just connect that without their permission, right? So you have to go through approvals and buy capacity. We won't be able to do that and, you know, extend this beyond this point without going back to the county for some vote for increasing capacity. I mean, anything's possible, but that's very unlikely at this point. They don't even want to give us this.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here for public comment? Well, come on up.
My name's Paul Mastrantoni from 10 Boxwood Drive. The question I got is the bedroom count. So, just say if I have a 2-bedroom, you guys are going to, I'm just asking the question because discussing. No one's going to automatically like walk through the house and say, oh, you got 3 bedrooms or 4, even though it's a 2 on the, you get what I'm saying? You know, if someone has another room or, you know, if someone has a 1 or someone has a, you know, you guys are going to automatically bump them up or no? I'm just asking, you know.
No.
Whatever's on that building plan, whatever it's.
The assessment, probably the assessor's records of what.
Yeah, that's what it would be.
Now, if you want
If
to
you go
raise
down
it-
to sell it and someone came in, well, that's.
No, if you want to raise it yourself or go over there,
Right.
that's your own
Right.
choice.
No one's going out
Okay.
counting bedrooms.
No, I'm just asking because, like you
No,
said,
okay,
you
you're
was
right.
asking about the
You're
value.
right.
Because if someone has a 2-bedroom, and you know, like we were talking about with the, you know, if someone has a big house and 1 person, and someone has a tiny house with 12 people, however it works, you know.
Yeah, but that's the way that's the building department, the
Yeah.
health department for the county of Westchester.
Yeah.
That's how they determine it.
Exactly. I know you guys set the phases, and I know everybody's worried about this. One other question I got. Can you guys, I mean, I don't know if it's possible, and I know you said you're going to get money as you go, and hopefully you get money as you go. Could you, like, right now you have 10 million for 100 houses, and I know you have to do the main infrastructure. If you had another 10 million, could you reduce the stages or the phases? You know, you get what I'm saying? Then maybe there won't be as much finance charges. I don't know if that's possible.
So the $10 million is connecting those 103
No,
homes.
I understand, yeah.
In addition to putting the infrastructure, the base infrastructure for both lake communities. It'll be sized to handle both. So if we get another $10 million, that'll go directly into hooking up 300 homes.
No, that's what I'm getting at. Instead of people saying, you know, I know how you guys are trying to get this all done in so many years, and it would be beneficial, but then everybody says the financing. That's what, I think if it was just a normal $500 or $400 just
Yeah.
for the OEM and all that, people wouldn't be nervous. It's the other part of it.
Sure.
You know, like my own house, I got $1,000 on financing, and that's what bothers you. So that's what I'm getting. The phases, could you make the phases smaller if you got more?
The idea is.
Phases can be
Smaller,
amended, they can be
and
changed
if
as
you
time
had-
goes on.
like I said, if you-
depending upon what actually happens with the financing.
So let me-
I can tell you, I've been up here now about 12 years. This board hates to borrow for anything.
I know.
They just don't do it.
But if someone
We like grants here.
Yeah,
like
no, but
grants.
if people hear that part, if you're able to change and not throw a finance charge out there, then it's a whole different.
But you have to have a plan.
No, I understand that, but,
But
I
the
know you
plan,
have
the
to-
plan can be amended
that,
to
that's
match
fine.
reality.
Yeah,
But,
I hear
but
you.
we got to
But
get
if-
the,
but if
we
we
got to
don't
get the
have-
first base.
But if we don't have a sewer district established, none of this happens.
Oh.
$10 million that's in coffers in the county does not get applied. You don't get the infrastructure, you don't get the benefits.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I understand that part. I'm just trying to, so people understand because
Paul.
if they could get rid of.
So,
You know,
Paul, if I may.
I live in Armonk. We only qualified for a little over $1 million for a project in North Castle, which is part of, which Armonk is part of North Castle. If the residents down there had ever had the opportunity to snatch $10 million for sewer, they'd be grabbing it with no questions, because it's $10 million. If you don't take it now, this is generational. You may never get it. It's going to go to Bedford. It's going to go to Chappaqua. This is an insane discussion, in my opinion.
I'm not arguing about that.
Can I just answer your question?
This is comments.
Which is financing, future financing is based on a presumption of a certain amount of, dollar amount of grants.
Yes.
And if that's not reached, there may not be those other things, or until that's reached, there wouldn't be other financing. But as we are told by the county, by DEP, by our lawyers, by our grants people, unless you can use this 10 million and demonstrate that you have a need, you will never get those other grants. And that's what.
No, I understand that part.
So that's the point that's being made.
No, I get all that. It's just that if, like I
And those
said-
grants are necessary in order to go out and borrow at a lower cost, because everyone understands the concerns of everyone here.
Yeah.
About the cost of it. And that's why you want those grants, to lower that cost of borrowing. But in order to do that, we have to have a plan, and we have to use the 10 million they've allocated. If we don't use it, they're going to say, well, somebody, like Mr. Barone just said, somebody else will take it. Good luck to you.
No, but that's what I'm getting. If the first 10 million gets used, I have no problem,
Right.
And it's to like, what I'm saying, if you get another 10 million, instead of throwing 400 houses at it, and everybody's got to get finance charge, you throw 200 houses at it.
Exactly right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Very
then
possible.
if people understand that part,
Yes.
then they might understand. Well, right now, people just see
Yeah.
$1,000 finance charge and 700, whatever, and that's what's making everybody nervous. If people see that you're going to reduce the phases, because you're showing as big phases.
No, thanks for bringing that point up, because, yes.
That's how.
That's a good point, and it definitely, if it's going to benefit the property owners by making the phases smaller, then that's what we're going to do.
You're like I'm just giving you an example. Like I said, if you got another 10 minutes and you just concentrated another 100 or 200 houses around Chenorock, and you just stayed on, instead of bouncing back and forth, stay on one side, and then if next year you get another 10 million, and you finish Chenorock, and then you work on, because I think if you bounce both sides, I just think you're wasting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you said, if you do the first phase, I think you're better off extending it on the one side and then working from the other way. I mean, that's from a construction side.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Very good point.
We just gotta go with this.
Anyone else here for public comment? What, you've already spoken? You already spoke once.
When everybody speaks once, then question.
Hi, Heather Backman, 6 Overhill Road in Shenorock. I had a question about the Phase 1 financing. You said that at some point when financing is incurred, that Phase 1 will also pay some of the financing cost. My question, and I think this has caused some confusion, is because in the charts in the back of the map plan and report, there is no column for financing for anybody in Phase 1. So that's making some people look like they're paying $300-400 total when other people are paying $2,200. So I think that's why there's this disparity that people are saying, oh, well, there's some houses paying $300 and some paying $2,200. How is it that we can't estimate what Phase 1's financing charges are going to be, or make clear to everybody that Phase 1 is actually paying financing at
That's a
some point?
good question. I mean,
I'm not sure that when they did it, that they knew what financing would be for Phase 2.
But how do they know
Within-
what my financing is going to be in Phase 2? How do they not
Well,
know
they
what Phase
the-
1's going to pay?
They know the maximum
that's what they.
that might be borrowed for Phase 2.
But if it's going to be
But if we
distributed,
qualify for the grants, then Phase
I
2
understand.
financing is reduced.
I understand, but right now it's showing 0 for Phase 1, and you guys keep saying that Phase 1, the second we take a loan, everybody is paying, but that's not
Well,
how it reads, and
If
we've been
that's the way it
told-
reads, that should be clarified.
Right, and we've been told that we're going to be, you guys, the board, the town, the municipalities, everybody is going to be held to what is stated in
You
this
can't
map
go
plan and
above that,
report.
right.
Right, well, for right now, everybody in Phase 1 says 0. You can't go above that, then that means they're
So
not
that-
paying financing.
You're not referring to the brochure that the engineer sent out?
No,
That's
I'm
the map
looking in the map
plan
planning
report.
report.
Well, that should be clarified.
I mean, maybe the words within the map planning report might say something different, but those charts, there
Do
is
you
no
have the
column.
page there that we
Yeah,
can then,
sure.
maybe,
I have it pulled
not
up
at the moment,
on
but as soon as
the-
this
yeah.
is over.
That
There
definitely should be
is
clarified.
the Appendix B parcel lists. The parcel
There it
lists
is.
do not, for all of Phase 1, it's missing an entire column under financing, which makes us think that Phase 1, those 100 and however many houses aren't paid.
We're always going to get a free,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's not the
And
case.
and these people who've been relying on that and told that they'll never pay more than that, everybody's saying that's 60% of the cost. So none of these homes are really actually only 200 or 300. They're several hundred.
I think, I'm not sure.
If and when there's a borrow.
Right, but that's the same for Phase 2. I'm not gonna pay until there's a borrowing.
Right.
But if Phase 1's gonna be paying, they need to be notified, I would think, and it needs to be in the map planning report.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, but I think the intent is when Phase 1
Where's
goes
this
in,
zero?
you don't have that borrowing, because there's no borrowing for you at that point, but when that
Right,
is, it'll kick
right.
in, but it doesn't
But it doesn't read in
necessarily
that appendix.
until- We'll have to go back and look, could it be written more clearly? Okay. Okay, we got the point.
Yeah, there's also, you're right, on page, physically within the map planning report, 4-9, under 4.4 cost summary, the capital financed and capital, annualized capital for Phase 1, both read 0 also. So it's physically within it, not just in an appendix,
Okay.
if you wanna see that
Yeah.
there. So that just raises concerns that there's an inconsistency there, that
Understandable.
in what's been submitted to the comptroller.
Okay.
My other question is, on the maps, for example, the house next to my parents on Shenorock, on Crest Drive in Shenorock, on the maps there are 2 parcels that appear to not be inhabited. There's a house there, but they're not listed now on this as being included in the district. But there's physically a house there because they've used an old map where there's 2 parcels there. What happens to them? The house, there's physically a house there more than a year, but the map shows 2 separate parcels. And they're 3 years, sorry.
It shows 2 parcels that
So
do
it
not
used to be
have a-
two unbuildable lots. They got
So
sold
recently
together
developed-
within the last 3
recently
years. It was
developed
developed.
Yeah.
As they sold as one single lot, cleared all the trees, put a house there. But it's the middle of the block in Crest Drive, and there's, one person, my parents on one side, another person on the other side. They're included in the district, but this one house in the middle
Do you
of
know
the
the
block isn't
address
included in
of
the
that?
district.
Did you say
I
the address?
don't know the address of it. 17 Crest Drive?
Neither of the former tax lots is included? No, in other words, if there were 2 lots that had two tax lots, one of them should have survived. If
Yeah,
if
the
2
physical
lots-
map in their thing shows 2 separate lots, and in the listing, neither address is listed in the listing. So these poor people, I don't believe are here tonight, they're gonna have to buy in someday and have this process that you said that's not very easy to do. I don't know whether they're for it or against it, to be honest with you, but I don't know if they're even entitled to vote,
Well, they're there.
but are they,
Yeah, I
that's a
understand.
question I think I have for the board.
That's
This
right.
vote that I think you guys are gonna get into shortly, people have petitioned, there's gonna be a vote.
Right.
Who has the right to vote on this? Is it anybody within Shenorock?
No.
Or only the people on that list?
Well, we're gonna get to
people
that,
on the
we're gonna
list.
get to that on the agenda.
Yeah,
naturally.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping to stick out for, but
Okay.
I don't know if I can.
Well-
Yeah, because it's one of those, if you're listed on that parcel list, there are people a door down that might not be on that parcel list that may have a vested interest in this.
If we have to go do corrections and reopen this, then that's what's gonna have to happen.
But the idea is everyone in the district, because you're voting on
Yeah.
your own costs. No one else in Somers, other people in Somers may have a vested interest. I talk to people,
Right.
hey, I think I'm whatever
But if you
for
live
against it.
within
But that's not
Shenorock-
their interest. Only the people in that district are voting on what's going to happen to them.
But I would think somebody who was erroneously not included in that district, when
something to
houses
look
on
into.
both sides of them, they,
Fair
they,
point.
they should, and it raises the question, I don't know how many other vacant appearing lots actually have houses on them,
We
because
had the
nobody drove
engineers
the
here,
district.
we'd ask that question.
Yeah, nobody
We'll
drove the
pursue it.
district and actually
So
checked to
I'm
see where
sure
houses
they
were.
did.
Take note of this parcel, we can,
Well, we don't, where
Crest
is it?
Drive.
Crest-
It's on Crest
17
Drive.
Crest
I don't know if it's 17.
17th, right.
So vacant parcel is not vacant.
Right,
It's 2 that were turned into 1 and built a house on.
Yeah.
right. 4 years ago.
all right, so maybe, okay.
Okay.
We'll look into
We'll have
that.
to look
Thank
into
you.
it.
Thanks for your comment.
Turn 2 into 4.
All right, anyone else here for public comment? Yes, sir.
Alan Masterson, 45 Ty Road, Shedrock. I was fortunate enough to, I guess, see that there were meetings back in the summer, and this is, I think, the 4th or 5th meeting that I've been able to attend. What I was most impressed with at the first meeting, I have family in Yorktown, and when they went on to sewer, they had to pay to decommission their existing septic. They had to pay to connect from the house to the street. And when all of that was included in with our pricing on the scope of the job, I was very surprised and very pleased, because that can run somewhere from, I think, about $8,000 to $15,000, depending on your connections. So that part impressed me. I'm fortunate enough to live in an area where we're on town water and not on well. I've lived in areas that have been on both, and the one piece that I agree with several people that have said tonight, there's a meter, they read my meter, I pay based on what my water usage is. I'm very interested in paying for, what my contribution to the sewer system is. I understand that, if I have more house than the person next to me, my contribution now is more than theirs. I definitely would be much more interested in it being a pay per usage, or everybody pay the same amount. But the idea of improving the infrastructure or creating the infrastructure really here to me is not just interesting, but exciting. I've lived here for over 16 years, and I don't think my street's ever been paved. It's been patched here or there, but, and with this project on the horizon, there's no way you'd pave before you do something like this. But in general, the idea of the project to me is exciting, and paying my share into that project, I would rather it be equal among everyone. But, again, the idea that we can finally move forward with something like this, to me, is exciting, and I appreciate all the efforts of everyone. I appreciate the postcards I got from the Somers Sewers site that came out. Again, there wasn't much there I couldn't find on the town website, but just the idea that it opened it up, and discussion-wise with a lot of my neighbors, it was definitely very interesting. It's a shame that people have to slander other people through things like social media, and it's true, it becomes a I want or you want, and we can't be, on the same page. And hopefully we can all find a place where, we do what's better for the greater good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your comments are much appreciated. Thank you.
Just because you just brought up about the roads, just this past week I happened to talk to the highway superintendent about that, and he was talking to the engineers to make sure that they didn't pave and then have to open the road should the district come through, and they were just revising their paving plans because of that.
And that's something we heard as a
did
concern
hear
in
that.
one of our meetings, that we
Right,
take
they
action.
didn't say that.
So last call for public comment.
Tom!
And then you.
But no, go ahead. And you too, right? Yeah, just a quick question. Yeah.
No, you're up, Tom.
Tommy Smith, 15 Carpenter Place. How'd they find out that these 100 homes aren't bad, or they're causing a problem? How'd that come about, that these 100 houses are going to be done first? Because they're doing the most damage to the lake. How'd they come to that conclusion?
Yeah, that was an engineering study
How'd they
in
do
proximity.
a dye test? They do a dye test, or? Because
Well,
nobody
if
came
you
to
run
my
over
house for a dye test.
Lincolndale Clubhouse, you could ask the engineers over there.
Well, that's another
Well,
question.
what
How
they-
come that's like, that's not right. That's
Well,
very
Tom,
underhanded.
Let me just be clear about that. The Lake Sustainability Committee has been meeting since 2017, routinely. I had no idea that they were meeting the same night as we were having a town board meeting. When I learned of that, I let Ms. Luciano know
Yeah, but
that
how does the
if you have
engineer not know
technical
it?
questions, I'm just explaining. If
But-
you have technical questions, that's a technical question.
How long you been dealing with this engineering firm?
With what?
How long you been dealing with these engineers?
They've been our engineering firm for, what, 5 years?
So they must know, not 5 years, you have a work session meeting and a regular meeting. They must know that, no? They've
Yeah,
been
they
to
were
a
not
couple.
invited. Frankly,
And that should have been scheduled
Tom,
on the
I
same
have.
night.
We've had 3 public hearings.
Okay.
On the issue.
Me personally,
We're
I
gonna
couldn't get
carry
to
it-
'em.
We were going to carry it on our agenda to talk about the formation and the procedures. We want everyone to know about their rights, their right to vote, where you're going to be able to vote. And it's a process.
Is it already a done deal?
No.
Just being-
And not till there's a vote,
You
John.
could have a vote.
It has to be voted into existence.
Are we approved to go into Peekskill?
Yes. Oh, well.
No.
No.
That'll be
No,
under
there has to
2
be
if
a
we
vote.
ever
Okay,
get
what-
there.
no.
I want to
But-
give you an update on that.
We can't, they can't let us in until we have actual plan that's approved.
And what if we don't get it? What if they say no? Then what do we do? We're spending all this money for nothing?
Yeah.
Well,
Leave money on the table.
We
We
believe
have
as a town board,
assurances.
this is in the best interest of our lake communities.
Okay.
We've seen what's happened to
I'm on top of the
Shenorock.
lake. I live on top of a very steep hill. And I don't understand why I'm not in phase 1. Where you got houses that are on flat ground, they're going downhill away from the lake, and they're in phase 1.
Well,
Who decided who's in phase 1?
Give my office a call tomorrow, Tom, and I'll have the engineer talk to you about how those properties were selected.
Okay, because I
Okay.
don't know if they did a dye test or what. You know, how do they know?
They'll
Yeah,
tell you.
we will.
Because they should have came to my house to give me a dye test. I'm at the top of the hill. You know, every plumber knows what goes downhill.
that's true.
You know, seriously. And how come with this, what, $1,200 a year increase in taxes? I pay $1,800 in town taxes now, so I got to pay another $1,200. What is that? 60%, 66% increase in my taxes for sewers that I don't want? There's nothing wrong with my septic system.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of unanswered questions. Like, if I go to my street on Carpenter Place, I have to pump up. But if you look out my backyard, it's all downhill. My neighbor over here, he's downhill. This guy over here, he's downhill. But nobody can give you, oh, well, we don't know if we could do that. When are you gonna know? You know, when are you gonna find out all these answers?
There, to that question, which has been posed several times, is on a house-by-house basis. The engineer, should there be a sewer district, will make that determination of the most efficient way of pumping the waste. Sometimes it may be better to go uphill to, sometimes downhill. That's obviously the easiest way. It won't be possible on every house. Some will go uphill, and the pumps will be provided for that at no cost to the homeowner. That's what they have said in the past.
Well,
And that
part
they
is-
built that into the project.
What bothers me is the way you're talking about $1,200. It's like it's nothing. Probably, you know, to a lot of people it is nothing, but I don't have $1,200 left over at the end of the year.
Well, remember,
I'm on disability. I can't even get to these meetings. Otherwise, you've been hearing me bitching a long time ago.
do you know that your house is 1,200, Tom? Have you looked at that? Or are you saying the average is 1,200?
Average. It's probably
Because
gonna be
yours
more than
might,
that. You know,
maybe. I mean, some are something like 400, and some obviously are higher, so that's an average.
It should all be, you know, the whole project, everybody should pay the same. Okay, not phase 1 gets it for this and this one gets it for that. That's, you know, I don't know if that's nepotism, if somebody related to someone who's got that 100 people, or what the story is. There are no answers. You know? Thank you. I'm 1,500. I got a 4-bedroom house. I'm there by myself. How much water do I use?
Yeah.
So the sewer, I think, should be go by your water usage, because what goes in, comes out. It's very simple. I could have 20 people live in my house, or I could have one person. My next door neighbor, he's got a 700 square foot house. He's got 2 people there. You know, he could have 10 people in there. You know, the guy next to him, next street down, which is another question, we're gonna get these McMansions popping up all over the neighborhood now, since there's no limitation. Okay, so you're ruining the whole character of the neighborhood. Now, a couple houses down from me, we got a McMansion. You look down on Old Mill, you got a McMansion. You got over here, you got a McMansion going up. That's all you're seeing. It's coming up. Oh, this is only a 2-bedroom house. Holy crap, look at the size of this thing. Oh, it's only 2 bedrooms. Oh, that's a study. Oh, that's a sitting room. Oh, that's my sewing room. Really? That's all. I just want to know who's in that, I want a list of names of those people in there. And if there's any nepotism, anybody on the town board, anywhere involved, engineering, those people. Because somebody should have been knocking at my door.
You can begin your investigation. All the names of the properties are
Yeah,
right
but I don't
here.
know who's related. I
Published
don't know
on-
if he's got a brother or sister,
Nor-
what their name is.
nor do
I don't
we.
know who his sister's married to. No, but how do you know? Because you're doing a lot of things underhanded.
Thanks for your comment, Tom.
I'm not done.
Yeah,
All right, I'm sorry. I have my 3 minutes.
Behind you, trying to speak.
How is this not underhanded, the way this meeting was planned and the other meeting planned? That's very, it's not right. It's not sitting right with me.
Tom, it's not right. But
It's not right, because you got an engineering firm for 5 years, should know when your meetings are. And they should not have scheduled the meeting when they should have been here.
We're going to get you any engineering
fair.
answer that you want.
They should have been here.
All right,
They
that's
should have
fair.
been here.
That's fair, and we'll have to
Or there
redo
should have been
that.
some kind of advertisement saying, we're gonna be here in Lake Lincolndale.
We'll come
Nothing
next
was
week.
said,
Can
because
we
you
come
guys
next
don't want
week?
people to know.
And we
We'll have
may
the
have
engineer
to,
here.
and we may have to do that.
Thank you,
again.
thank you.
That's not unfair.
No, it's very unfair.
No, and I say you're not
Appreciate
unfair.
the,
I'm complimenting you.
Now I got right.
Yeah, I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, this all,
That wasn't the subject of this meeting.
yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Bill Murther. I live in 14 Hickory Road.
Hello, Bill.
Hi. I'm not totally adverse to sewers, but I am scared of the price of this.
Okay.
My main concern, I had a sewer disaster or a septic disaster, and I fixed it, and I put a lot of money into it, and my main concern is water quality. I mean, where is the town at that for Lake Lincolndale?
Yeah, well, you're a private lake community, and I'm concerned about your water supply also, because you're all on wells up there, on small lots. You have your well and septic. Now, the health department has a regulation, you have to be 100 foot away from your septic fields with your well. I don't know that everybody up there is in compliance with that. You know, the issue is, it's not, septic systems are really never designed to be permanent. As we've heard tonight, many people have spent a lot of money fixing their septic systems. And people 5, 10 years from now will be spending money repairing them if the sewer district doesn't get established. This is something that the town board feels, in each one of us, is in the best interest of the lake communities, to get you guys off the septic into sewer. Other northern Westchester communities, as we sit here, are in the process of doing what we're trying to do here. Getting into the Peekskill Sewer District is number one. We've laid the groundwork, passing resolutions. We've sent our plan up to the controller's office. But you know what this is all gonna come down to? You and everybody in this room that lives in Lincolndale or Shenorock. When we have that special election, you guys will make the choice. Do we want to get off our septic and onto a sewer system, which will serve you in perpetuity? Because the $10 million that we're able to utilize from the county, put into your properties, initially the 103 properties, but the infrastructure will be put in to size for everybody. If we don't establish a district and lay claim to our $10 million, it's going to be a lost cause.
What's the deadline on that, sir?
We're having a special election, and we don't know when that's scheduled yet. But you certainly will know. There'll be a mailing to every property owner.
No, but I mean. Talking about the deadline for the 10 million. Yeah, I'm talking about the 10 million. When do you have to,
As soon as the vote happens, establishing the district.
use it or lose it deadline?
Correct.
What?
Yeah, well-
What's the date?
Well,
What's the date?
there's
So-
not a drop dead date.
Whenever the vote occurs.
If the
So-
vote occurs and it's voted down, then the county will contact us and, you know, we're not using the 10 million.
Yeah, we're taking, excuse me,
Yeah,
we're taking up
we
your
are.
Not had
your
it.
comment time. Good.
No, we haven't had it. We haven't had it.
Back to water quality, is there anything being done or in the pipeline for doing anything about that?
Yeah, not from the town's perspective. What I did suggest at a number of meetings is that if I lived in Lincolndale, around the lake area, I would have my own individual water tested. There are no plans that I'm aware of to bring water. I'm trying to think, probably for Lincolndale, we could begin conversations with Heritage Hills Water System, if that's something that's of interest to the community. But you're right to bring that up. That's a very big concern.
So just to clarify the question that's come back from back here, there are multiple communities in northern Westchester that are putting in sewer districts. Rick's on a committee, right? And so this $10 million is available. In the last 5 years, they're competing for that money. Katona wants to expand their sewer district. They would love to get this money, all right? We know that Yorktown, we talked about Yorktown, Peach Lake just did this.
Chappaqua as well.
Chappaqua as well. So we're seeing this in the last 5 years and saying, look, we need to be
Proactive.
We need to be proactive. We need to do something credible, right? So we can say we want that money. The first step in that is establishing a sewer district, all right? Look, this is a desktop plan at this point, as far as I'm concerned, okay? It's going to take, but from this point, we're going to have engineers out on the line, and there'll be changes. There's 25% of contingency built into this plan. It's about a $60 million project. The idea is to go get it approved within the context of the costs to the community, so it fits what the controller of New York State feels is average for those costs, all right? But the thing is if we were to go in low, we could never go back and, we could always be better, but we just can't go back and refile it another time. We'd be disqualified. So, it's the intent to bring this in on the budget. It's the intent to get the maximum amount of financing, maximum amount of grants that we can. And it's the intent that we're blocked into about $15 million of financing, but we're going to try to do it less than that. But we sit here right now without a shovel in the ground. This is the plan. And, this is all good. We're having the conversation. You're going to have to vote, do it. And ask me questions if you like. Stop me, and I'm happy to try to clarify this. Anthony Sirico.
Councilman
Anthony Sirico. Former councilman Anthony Sirico.
Yes, sir.
One of my thoughts is that if we're going to have the lakes all dug up, or especially Lake Lincolndale, it would be beneficial if we could put water mains alongside of it.
Yeah.
Oh, at the same time.
Yeah, look at
they
the
don't let you do
cost
that.
savings.
They don't let
You
you do that.
can't.
It's got to be, I think, a 10-foot separation between the two
You
trenches.
can't lay 'em
It
next
makes
to each
makes
other.
too much sense, so there must be a regulation.
Well, if there was a leak in
Crazy
one going into the
regulation,
other, I
but
think
it-
that's the idea, I think.
If you got a leak in the water main, you're going to have a big hole. You'll know where it is.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
one,
I think they were worried about the other way, but.
yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
In answer to your
sir.
question, ma'am, or, the drop dead date, if we don't create this, and I think that would be a mistake, we have to obviously make sure the cost for each person is as low as possible. And you may have heard, or maybe not, several of us were up in Poughkeepsie with Senator Gillibrand. She had a funding workshop on stormwater, sewer, and water supply, looking for grants. We were up there telling them, looking for those grants with our grant writer up there looking for that, to try to obviously reduce the cost. Is there anyone who thinks that if we could fund the whole thing, everything is paid for? Is there anyone who would be against sewer? I don't think so. It's better for the environment. Oh, maybe she would. But, it's better. But obviously the cost is the thing. And as far as the date on that 10 million, County Legislator Mike Kaplowitz, who represents almost all of Somers, this is last year. One of the things, he's retiring. One of the things he said last year and earlier this year, because he knows what's going on down in the county better than anybody. He said, you guys better get a plan for that money. You're going to lose it, because there's people who want that. Well, if someone isn't using it, let's take it, which is what the supervisor was just saying. And so I would worry that if this, I don't know this for a fact, but that if the vote went the other way against it, I would just worry that someone would say, okay, they don't want the money, because it isn't for just, okay, do something for Shenorock. It is specific for sewering. And that was the intent of the 10 million. So that's why.
Can I just ask one question? What about the landscaping and everything, like?
Can you please come up to the
Oh, I'm sorry. What microphone?
That was built, it is built into it,
Is it all right
though.
to come up?
It is.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
well,
you.
I'm really trying to get through public comment.
Sorry.
All I want to know is
My
about,
fault.
like, the landscaping and everything, like when
All right,
the...
The intent is to
Ma'am,
restore it back to.
We're going to carry this
That's in the
topic
bond.
on our agenda next week. We're going to go into November,
Week after, the
the week after that. So we're going to address landscaping and any other question you will have. And we'll have the town engineer at future meetings.
Okay.
But if they come into your yard, they tear it up, it's in the proposal that it will be put back the way it was, including if it's any walkways you have in there,
Yep.
grass, et cetera. That is in the plan. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else for public? Yeah, this is last one. Thank you.
Yeah, Ginger Solano, Crest Drive in Shinnerock.
Could you just in the mic? I don't know if
sorry.
we heard it.
Ginger Solano, Crest Drive. The easements, will we be told or giving all the information before the vote? Like, I'd like to know if what
No.
easements are going on my property or before the vote. So that would make
No,
a difference to me.
that's almost impossible to know that.
The way that the engineers are structuring it, if the vote passes and the state controller gives its approval, the engineers, as they design the system, intend to walk each property with the homeowner. And together, you'll decide what the best route is to get the pipe into your house.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And only then will an easement be drawn.
Okay.
You
Now,
have to.
After you've
okay.
agreed
So
to
we
it.
have a
Yes,
little
you
say
would,
in that.
at that time.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was interested. And if the vote goes no, what happens? Just that's it?
No sewer.
Well,
luck.
right now, there's no plan
Okay.
B.
I think the town board will be able to sleep at night knowing we move forward in the
You
best
did your
interest
best
of your
interest.
communities.
Yeah.
Look, we value, and I've said this before, we value our lake communities up here. They actually saved this town. When the cattle industry went out and the railroad came in, and this went from dairy to nothing,
I think I was.
people came up
here
from the
this-
city to use Purdy's, to use Lincolndale, to use Shennerock. And these summer cottages became year-round and brought people in, brought tax revenue in, brought population in. So this is, personally, this is my way. It's been a long haul, but it's my way of trying to give back to our lake communities that have done so much for our town.
Yeah. I was here in 75.
Yeah,
All right.
great.
So, Thank you.
Thank you.
I know John wanted to do something.
Yeah, John, can we call you up for a little?
Have nothing to do with the sewer. Come on up.
This is public comment.
All right. That's on the
I'm John Wallace. I live at 11 Juniper Drive in Lake Lincolndale.
Well, John?
I was here about 6 months ago, and I brought to your attention the board, the only one that wasn't here was Tom, about the addressing situation that we have on the housing in this area, the residents. There is absolutely no conform issue in reference to how you address your houses. A lot of them are not even addressed. I'm a school bus driver, and this affects me, especially on very busy roads like 118 and Mayapack Avenue and stuff like that. And also the emergency services. I mean, I've checked, especially Heritage Hills.
Oh.
That's a disaster up there. But somebody, I hate to say this, but sooner or later, because we can't find someone, because if you're having a heart attack, time is of the essence. And if it takes us 10, 15 minutes to find a house, somebody's going to eventually die. It's not when, it's not if, it's when. I brought this to your attention, so I'm here again because I'd like to know what the progress has been, if anything at all. I think we spoke that night because, if I remember right, your code enforcer was here, and I brought to your attention that you're not enforcing the code.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I wasn't here. We have a code that says the certain size
Right.
of the letter, or the numbers that have to be on there in the letters, which I think they're bigger than you think they're supposed to be.
They're 3 inches.
2 inches.
2 inches, are they? I
would
thought
use-
they were 3.
I'm looking up now.
Okay.
They recommended 6.
They recommended
So, John,
4.
let me answer your question. So, there were specific addresses that were brought to our attention after you, and we referred that to the fire chief. And the fire chief has actually been out to certain locations to clear up, because they're exactly what you're talking about. A state cop went to a wrong address because they were not marked correctly, whatever. So, Chief Giacomo went out and looked at the properties and straightened out the address issue there. You're right, it could be a matter of life and death. And that's what our building inspector, it's called our safety office for a reason. We're here to protect life and limb in this town. And it'd be a shame if, someone got a delayed response because their address was not posted correctly. So that's something we have to do better on.
Well, the problem that I see, one of the biggest problems is there's no uniformity. They're on the pole, they're on the mailbox one side, they may be on the other side that we're not driving to. They're on
Not at
both
all.
sides of the road. There's no uniformity. You go to Yorktown, every mailbox is in front of the house, and they have numbers on both sides of the mailbox. This is something pretty simple to do. Or you could make some issue. I saw a very well done one in Lake Lincoln. I walked past it today, and it finally dawned on me. This thing is really nice. It's a pole right next to the driveway with the numbers on it vertically. Very clear. Can't miss it. And there are a lot of houses that don't have any addressing, so where's the code enforcer that's supposed to be enforcing the code?
It's an interesting thing you bring up, and I could tell you something I think that is even more dangerous, which is if you go over in some place like Tomahawk Road, traditionally, the mailboxes were only on one side of the road, so you would cross that road. One, that's a safety issue. In the middle of winter especially, it's dark, it's icy, you got to cross the road to get your mail.
Right.
But unless you put it at the end of your driveway, which some people do and some people don't, how are you going to know the mailbox on the other side, which house it correlates to? Now, because the town did put some pressure on the Yorktown post office, where the mail comes out, that comes out of Yorktown over there, they then allowed people to move the mailbox across the road so it's in front of their house. So at least that's a little bit better. Not everybody has done that. But that's a good point you raise. And you raised it before. And
I did, about 6 months ago.
hopefully we're going to make that a change.
To answer that question, there is a way to tell. You got odd and even numbers. There's only odd on one side and even on the other side. Now, I've been driving the school bus a long time, and I figured this all out.
All right.
But if they're not marked properly, or you can't hardly read them, and some of them have numbers missing. You go around town, you'll see it. I'm guaranteed you'll see it.
It's a safety issue.
It is. So you can go back to the sewer now. If you, well, I'll be back, because I'm going to ask you again what the progress is.
Well, hopefully we'll wait till
You know what?
Chief Giacomo comes back.
Yeah, I'll refer that back to the building department and our code enforcement officer, and if we start issuing some tickets out there, maybe people start waking up and
You're right, we certainly
identify.
have a code.
But I would uniform it. I think that, because right now, all they got to do is mark it. It can be on the house, and I think it says the left side of the door. Or it can be on the mailbox. It could be on the pole. It's all over the place. It's on the wall, on plaques, and it's not so bad on the back roads. But when you get on 118, which is Tomahawk Street, or Lake Street, or Mayapack Avenue, I mean, it takes no time to have a bunch of cars behind you. Because let me tell you, they don't go 30 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Boy, they're right up your bottom before you know it.
that's it.
And it's a big problem. And if you miss a house, you can't turn it around on Mayapack Avenue. You can't even turn a van around on Mayapack Avenue, so it's tough. Okay.
I appreciate your comment, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep coming back.
Okay, I'm about to close public comment.
Second.
All right, last comment.
Hi, my name is Luana Cotman, and I live at 22 Tulip Road, Lake Lincolndale. I just have one question. Because the map report is not correct, will we reopen the process before the vote so that the report is sent correctly? No?
I doubt it.
But if the report is incorrect, shouldn't it be corrected?
It won't affect the state controller's review. What's important is the vote. That will affect the state controller's review.
Okay. Right.
You mean in terms of their being able to vote? I
There's
guess
errors on the report,
I guess
so-
we're going to have to look at that aspect. That's a valid concern. I think first we have to find out for sure that there are errors. We hear what you're saying, now
Right.
we have to hear from the engineers.
Right, okay. But I think that
Way ahead of me.
the report should be correct, so you won't have any problems.
Yeah.
Certainly the listing of the properties, whether there are some things that might be typographical or whatever, but the listing of the properties would seem to be.
Yeah, we need to talk to the
But
engineer.
whether or not those people are qualified to vote
Right.
is going to be a problem.
Right, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, in the interest of our audience, I'm moving Town Board item number 2 to number 1. And I just wanted to give the board and the town an update. So Westchester County has notified us that, okay, our petition to get into the Peekskill Sewer District has been received. It now gets evaluated at the Planning Department and then sent over to the Board of Legislators. So it is hoped that once this vote happens in the affirmative, that the Board of Legislators then will take the action and allow us into the Peekskill Sewer District, which will make this project happen. That is already in the works. Roland, I'm going to ask you just to run down the permissive referendum steps. I mean, where we are right now is petition
Well,
signing.
the petition has been received. There may be other copies of the petition that I think you have separately, and you may receive more. What's the last date for the receipt? Yep.
The meeting date is the 12th. Correct, and 11th is Friday.
And so it's the day after the next meeting. So you won't be able, to, unless you hold a special meeting, which you may choose to do, to determine the validity of the petitions. That then would start the period of time to leading up to the vote, which is a period of not less than 60 nor more than 75 days. So there's a 15-day window when the vote has to be called. And you're going to get close to Christmas unless you have a special meeting. So you may. you
So
may
we'll have a
to do
special
that.
meeting.
We'll have a special meeting to move this forward.
Yes, we would want to do it this calendar year, we've been advised.
Yeah, so, so that's that part of the procedure. You have to determine where the vote is going to be held. I don't know if I don't know if you have polling places out in the field, or if everyone's going to come here. Those are really questions for Patty to answer.
One place, it'll be here.
Just here, okay? And you have to coordinate with the Board of Elections as to the availability of machines.
Right, so the voting will take place here in the townhouse. Yeah, and we'll have to make,
Available 60 days
Because of the election in November.
because of November 11th.
Will they be
Well, you-
the electronic machines?
well, can we?
You're
use-
into December no matter what.
I don't know how long they.
Keep them.
Yeah, you mean if they impound them? Yeah, I guess you'll have to.
All right, that's another
Because if we
detail we'll
find-
have to iron out.
If we find that they're not available until a certain date, then that impacts when the board will want to start the period.
Oh, right.
Because
Right.
the statutory period is that 15-day window.
Right.
But you have latitude when you start.
Okay, so it may not be next Friday.
Right.
We have to contact the Board of Elections and
We
say,
have
how
to
long
know.
after
Yeah.
the vote's
Can we
in?
get
And we're
those?
only gonna need a couple machines.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we have to use machines?
I think it's the best way
I do too.
to have an election.
You don't want to go to
I
that.
was-
You don't want,
do
no,
hand
no
ballots
ballots.
Or how about the older machines? They're still around, aren't they?
Well, that's a good, the school.
We cannot use, the school does not use voting machines anymore.
No, they don't.
We cannot use Board of Elections.
All right, so we'll adjust when that date
We'll contact
starts.
the Board of Elections and
Right.
find out when.
Maybe we can, get one of their extra
So
machines.
just say again that it goes from what to what to what? It's 15 days from the date of?
It's between 60 and 75 days is when the election has to occur. Measured, the start date is when you deem the petitions sufficient.
Okay.
And we have to find out when we can get the machines before we deem them sufficient.
Otherwise you
because
run out of time.
Then we could run out of the 50, we could
Right.
not be within the 50, we might not be able to get a machine for the
All
15-day
right.
period.
And to deem them sufficient requires some sort of certification clerk?
Well,
I mean, is a
Adding
form-
counts
is there a-
as
but is there a
they're
for-
sufficient.
But is there a, is there a formal sort of submission to the Board of Elections
No.
or anything
No,
like that?
No, it's a town
This
thing.
It's
is,
just a town thing.
This is actually, it's not even a town thing. It's a Lake Lincolndale thing, and it's a Lake Shenorock thing.
Right.
And
But
only the
town
property
clerk
owners.
certifies that.
Yes.
The town clerk certifies that those are official signatures.
Yeah, and believe me, this is one vote I want every property owner to participate in. This is very important.
And the reason that we required them to be notarized is it makes the process
Yes.
very clean
Right.
and no artificial challenges to somebody's
Exactly.
witness. I
Yeah,
mean, this is.
because
this
we've
is-
seen that in the past.
Yeah.
And just to make it clear for everyone, it's a majority of all the property owners.
Correct.
If I own 3 pieces of property, do I get 3 votes or
Yes.
1 vote? So it's 1 vote per property.
Correct.
Regardless of who owns it. Regardless of who owns how
Yeah,
many
if somebody
properties.
owns 3 pieces, they can vote 3 times.
If a person is a renter and they're in it, they don't own the property, they're renting.
the owners.
Then the owner. Okay, so
And how do
that
we-
makes it clear.
How do we deal with absentee owners? They're renting property, but they live in Florida.
They're still,
We have
they're legally responsible for the taxes.
What about,
So they
is there a
have to vote and
notification?
votes.
Absentee ballot, we would send
We'd have to
them?
notify them.
Well, we may not know if it's rented or not. We may not know this, that, that you're not there and you're renting.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if there's a notification requirement.
Well, you're going to send out, you know who the owners are.
Right.
Okay, good.
Sit with the roll
Yeah.
and black out, and so, Tony Srico, oh, property owner, he can stay. Patricia Calvo, no, not a property owner.
Okay, okay.
But then we take that role and this role for when we count. Because even there, so the person that lives in Florida might not be a registered voter, but they still are allowed to vote.
Right.
Right.
Got it.
Because they're a property owner.
Right.
Is there a method by which we notify that person in Florida?
They need to request an absentee ballot.
And how would we let them know that they need to request that? Is there any,
I think somebody has that all under control.
all right.
I'm glad to hear it.
Something's
Okay,
under
so-
control there.
Right.
Is it one
Yes.
vote per house? Yes.
Oh, husband and wife, just one vote.
One vote.
One vote.
One vote per property.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, so that,
And Roland, Roland, it's a simple majority, I don't know.
yeah, come on.
It's a majority of all the.
Joe, we're going to stop you.
Not a majority of those who vote. It's a-
So what's it, I'll ask you.
What if not a majority, 80% of the people vote, and half of them vote each way? Now there's not a majority of the property owners. So it's a permissive referendum, so a majority of the homeowners, of the property owners, must vote in favor, otherwise it fails. Got it.
I had a question from the audience. What if there's a foreclosed house that the bank owns?
Bank is the owner, it gets the
The
vote.
bank gets a vote.
Oh, good. All right, we have one comment.
Because it
Okay.
increases the value.
Question,
I know,
maybe?
I agree.
You know, that's the other factor here that you have to appreciate is that
He's really gonna have to answer.
well, look, you brought up Peach Lake. If you look at what homes are selling for in Peach Lake now, homes that were worth $300,000, the last 3 homes that sold over there sold for in excess of $750,000. Your house is gonna go up right next to the Alton house?
Yeah, we'll find out. Let's go on, let's move
All
on.
right.
Okay. Roland. County charge is $185, correct?
For
Yeah,
what?
but this is, yeah, sounds right.
Okay. So this is supplied by the engineering firm. My county surcharge is $340. Now, you say that's supposed to be per parcel, not on assessed value. Everyone was supposed to pay the same.
Yeah.
Okay. The house next door is 180, I'm 344.
That includes that includes the buy-in too, right?
Well, what is the county, I thought the county surcharge was the buy-in.
And it's based on assessed value. That's not all the same. The only thing,
Everyone's been saying it's 185.
the average.
On average, it's back to the 1,200.
Oh, man.
The average.
But you said before,
No, I
the
said-
financing was assessed, but the other charges weren't.
The O&M is done on a unit basis.
O&M.
The recapture is part of the financing.
Okay, O&M, county O&M. I'm 446, the house next door is 234. Okay?
All right, Joe, Joe
No,
and
no,
Roland.
no, this kind of needs to be straightened out before the vote, because
We have plenty of time to straighten it out. Your individual questions can be answered by our town attorney and the engineer.
Because it's green, this is the report on the from the engineer. On phase 1, there is no column for financing at all. Okay,
We got it.
thank you.
We're looking into that, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, we're getting away from sewer discussion at this point.
Everyone's gonna leave now, so.
Don't leave us. Hey, this is the good news.
Please stay.
All right, well, we'll take a 2-minute break. Okay, going back to our, we're reconvening our meeting after a brief break. We're now on agenda item number 1, authorize supervisor to sign and submit the application for DOT multimodal number 4 program funding for resurfacing part of Plumbrook Drive, including the following.
I'm for it.
So, we can thank our Assemblyman Burns. He was able to secure funding in the amount of $25,000, which we will put to good use, paving a portion of Plumbrook. As you will know, if you live anywhere near there, a good part of Plumbrook was already paved this year. But this will be able to extend the distance of paving on Plumbrook. So Patty, I don't know, do we need to move that or consensus?
Consensus?
Well, you know what? If, I'll make a motion to authorize, you authorize the supervisor to put this in motion because I,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And just so I think people understand if they're on Plumbrook, because I did get this question since I'm near there, it's on the side, if I'm correct at least, over on the other side of the reservoir by the church, not on the side leading into Route 100. Correct?
I would have to check.
Wait, say again?
Well, it ultimately goes into 100.
Well, it's on the other
You're saying
side
the-
by the church, not on
Yeah,
the
it's not on the
side.
bridge side.
It's on the opposite side, yes.
Oh, so
On
it's-
that part.
So it's a stretch, okay.
Yes. That's what I understand it to be. Yeah.
Okay, so in preparation for the bridge being rebuilt, potentially.
I wouldn't go there, but someone was asking me that question, and I said, it's on the other side, not on your side where they live.
But we'll approve that.
Okay. So I wanted to give you folks an update on the, as you know, the DEC owns an 11-acre parcel behind, which borders Reese.
How long have we been talking about this, Tom?
I don't know,
Yeah.
20 years?
Well, when you start talking about alphabets, DEC, DEP, what have you. So the county has signed off, I believe, Roland, on their piece
Holy cow.
of.
Yes, they've approved the deed. So now I can have you sign it and send it to the county for recording.
And then,
And the other piece we're still waiting for, which is the easement modification.
who's doing that?
From DEC.
The town has signed it, the county has signed it, we're waiting for DEC
And
to
what's the
sign it.
holdup with DEC?
They just have a process. They,
Well, no, they published it.
We gotta work on that process,
they have a
Roland.
process.
Yeah. They published it in their environmental news. Then they had a, I don't know, 30-day comment period on the publication.
Yeah, it goes on.
That was over the summer. And now I have a call into my contact there, saying, okay, you have the original document, so once we put that document and the county together.
And this is the
If
problem.
Rick did not have his contact, we would be nowhere.
Really?
Because the fellow's been very helpful to you.
But this just
Yeah.
makes no sense. It's something that nobody really is against. It makes total sense.
Makes total
Takes-
sense.
Takes literally, I mean, I wasn't even joking, 10 years.
It
or
is.
more.
It is.
It makes, I mean, that's
Well,
that's
I think it was a
ridiculous.
poor decision to
It was a
begin
poor
with.
Well, no, when they
It's-
mapped it out the first time, it
undoing-
was.
Right.
I agree.
That was, yes.
So you would think somebody could look at it and say,
You know,
oh,
sometimes it takes a while to right or wrong.
yeah, well, shouldn't
Yeah,
have 10 years
hopefully
for
it gets
11
done.
acres. I thought Tommy was going to be using that 11 acres in, kindergarten. He's going to
Yeah.
college next year.
Well, the 11 acres is there, it's part of the Anglefly.
I'm going to go make him play on it anyway.
Yeah, go down there and lose some balls.
That's it.
That'll be good for the park, though.
Okay,
That would be great.
I felt it was timely to just give an update on this NYSEG resiliency program. We've all heard about their 5-year trimming plan for the town of Somers and elsewhere. This is a different project altogether. This is a ground-to-sky program, and their intention, I think it's funded like $440,000.
On level.
And basically, well, it's not just level. What they're doing is applying this resiliency program to all the
Low performance
power
servers.
lines that go in, the Goldens Bridge, the
Right.
Croton Falls, Tea Kettle Spout. Lovell Street was on the Tea Kettle Spout run. That's 419, 420. They're going to be going up 100. So they're going to be in town, changing the look. I can't tell you how many people concerned about beautiful trees getting cut down. It's a matter of,
It's an arbitrage.
do we keep the power on during bad weather and you don't suffer outages, or do you risk it? So I saw a picture that actually Supervisor Lucas sent around. He goes, and it shows about maybe 100 years ago, no trees
Yeah.
in any of these communities. It was all cattle and grazing. And it's just over the last 100 years that trees have gone. So,
There's actually more trees in Connecticut now than there was 200 years ago.
yeah, I would say the same for Somers.
It's true.
So
When you watched Jeopardy last night?
I'm a history teacher.
So when we cut these down, they'll grow back.
Yes, they will.
But we won't be here to see it.
Oh,
so
there's
thi-
a downer.
So this is
Speak for
the
yourself.
dramatic tree cutting that you see going on is under their resiliency program. I'm sure you're going to hear more about it at the Utility Task Force. They claim they were talking about this for the last 6 months. We understood it was part of their rate request.
Correct.
But it was never made clear
I would
that in
believe-
fact they had $440,000 to begin this in the town of
Neither Rich
Somers.
and I were, I don't think we were under the impression, I missed the last meeting, but
No, we had talked about it because they had mentioned that in Connecticut, that is the process in Connecticut, and they say, if I remember correctly, 60% fewer outages, which they attribute to the ground-to-sky clearance. And I have no reason to doubt their figures, and that they were going to, in effect, test that in beta version, so to speak, along Lovell Street and maybe other places in town. And that is part of the Public Service Commission rate increase. So that is paid by everybody who's a NYSEG customer in New York State, but the overwhelming majority, if not all of it in the program, was going to be to the Brewster Division, which we are a part of. And that, so in effect, the rest of the state is going to pay for that.
But the city.
And that is controversial because people get, they get emotional about trees. Look down in Bedford. If you come in Route 117 from 35 into Bedford, just before the road splits, they have that very nice boulevard right in the middle of 117 there, just north of the library. There's a huge tree. You look at that, the circumference is gigantic, which they just took
Certified
down.
prior to the Revolutionary War.
That tree was?
Yep.
Wow. And it was dying, and in the middle of it, there's kind of a hole, and before it fell, they cut it, but it's controversial. You live in that area, you go, oh man, that's a beautiful tree, what happened? As Sam Miller says, they will grow back, and the right tree in the right place is what they always, but I understand when people say, oh man, that was nice.
Look,
The
it's
23% increase has not been approved by the Public Service Commission yet.
No.
Right?
No.
So to your point, to say this is in reverse, they're doing the ground-to-sky proposal on
a special-
on the worst circuits in their system.
Yeah.
This is what we discovered through
Right.
your task force, that, they would talk to us about averages, but these circuits over here are the worst performing circuits
Well, we didn't know they were
in their
doing ground
network.
to sky.
Yeah.
We knew they were cutting it down.
Right.
Ground to sky just came up recently, that when
Right.
somebody came in, but now we know.
And they said that was a test case for it to see, I guess, how it works or something, I don't know.
Okay, so I did want to just have that discussion, get that information out there. And Andy Gombowski is in charge of the resiliency program. I'm trying to get him down to your next utility task force meeting.
Okay.
He's from
good.
NYSEG.
What's his last name? Close enough.
Gumgowski.
I got it.
Andy G.
G-U-B, yeah.
Andy G.
Andy G. That's right. Great guy.
More trees in Connecticut now.
Okay, under personnel, we have openings on Affordable Housing Partners and Prevention Boards. I want to acknowledge the resignation of Rosalie Segonia as a part-time availability intermediate clerk in the building department, effective September 30th.
Thank you, Rosalie.
Rosalie, she represented our building department. No nonsense. She spoke with a lot of developers, contractors, electricians, plumbers.
And if I'm not mistaken, she was the one who came up with the first place winning chili sauce.
Indeed, yes.
Yes,
she did.
Just a few weeks ago.
She
the secret
she
ingredient.
catapulted us to number one.
So even if she's not working for the town, she will still be on the team next year.
I've already got a commitment that she will always
She
be
will have
part of
more
our
time
team.
to perfect it.
That's exactly right. I don't know if you can get higher than first, but we'll try.
But we can
Okay.
get first again, so that's.
So the next two items are authorize the hiring of Linda Zaza.
Yeah, I thought this was.
And the number three is acknowledge the resignation of Linda
But it was
Zaza
a
as a
good 10
part-time
days.
availability chauffeur.
It was a good 10 days.
Yeah,
She-
it was great. But I guess she found the task more than she bargained for.
Yeah.
So, which leads us to the authorization of hiring Miss Marie Fagan as a part-time availability PTA chauffeur for the Somers Adult Transportation Department at an hourly rate of $15 per memo dated September 23rd from Barbara Tabor, Nutrition Program Director, effective September 24th. We'll move that to CA, Patty? Okay. Then authorize the appointment of Mr. Bobby Brower to the Somers Affordable Housing Board to a 2-year term ending July 11, 2021. And thank you, Mr. Brower, for volunteering.
Yes.
I know you came in interested in serving the town, and we appreciate you choosing one of the boards. And we look forward to other volunteers coming out and doing the same.
Yeah, he's been here just about a year, and it's nice to see him come out. He said he wanted to be part of the town. That was very commendable of him, and he comes, as we know, with a lot of energy.
Yes, and indeed.
And Somers runs on its volunteers, so I've heard.
No.
Tom says it
So
all the time.
acknowledge the appointment of Mr. Bart Lansky to the Somers Zoning Board of Appeals to fill a 5-year term ending December 31st, 2020.
And we should say Mr. Lansky has served for a long time on our assessment review board. So we appreciate him
Yeah,
for
he's,
that service.
Can he
as
continue
well.
on that and be on this?
On the Board of Assessment?
Yeah, before assessment review
I don't think
and
that's a
the
conflict.
zoning board?
I've actually seen that before.
So he
Okay,
can
good.
if he chooses.
okay, because we may not let him go then. Because no, Bart's certainly been an asset, and I think he'll be an asset to the zoning board. Okay, proposed consensus agenda.
It's pretty straightforward.
Any questions on any of those? Okay.
I know you're about to read the announcements, and I know it was last week, but I said this earlier. If, when it comes out again, I made use of the chemical household
Oh, yeah?
drop-off
Yeah, I was there.
at FDR Park.
Right.
And I have to say, it was run so efficiently. I was in and out in no time at all. They have lines for everything. I was able to get a lot of chemicals that you just don't know where to put them. You don't want to pour them down the drain or throw them in the garbage. So I don't know how often they do it. Is it every 6 months or so, I think, somewhere in that
Think so.
neighborhood? But
It's
it was fantastic. I mean, they took air conditioners, they took TVs, they took everything.
A lot of stuff.
And
It was a
but
hot day, those guys were dying.
they were, but more importantly, it moves. So you get there and you think, oh, I'm going to be here for half a day, and you're not. You fly through it. So very good job by the county.
The county had cut that out for several years. If you remember, we talked with legislator Kaplowitz about that one time when he was here giving his one of his annual reports. And I think it's one of the best things that the county does for the environment, like you say, and they organize it real well.
Yeah, that was great. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to shoot down these announcements. We have quite a few.
Only
I'll,
because Patty doesn't have a microphone.
That's right. I think she did that by design tonight. So the Somers annual fall townwide cleanup, we're in the midst of that. Official orange guards, bags, and gloves available at Somers Townhouse or the library. Volunteers needed, sign up to keep Somers clean. And you can sign up, get an assignment at www.somersny.com. Support Connections, 25th support a walk, 3-mile walk Sunday, this Sunday, October 6th. 9 a.m. is the pre-walk activities, 10 a.m. is Ready, Set, Walk, FDR Park, Route 202, Yorktown Heights. St. Luke's Episcopal Church, Blessing of the Animals, and Fall Barbecues this Sunday. Blessing of the Animals at 10 a.m., 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 is the Fall Barbecue. St. Luke's Church, Route 331, Route 100. All pets are welcome. And it's free barbecue, gentlemen.
All right.
What the hell does that mean?
I don't know.
Guess wasn't looking at me.
Look at the meat eaters down here.
Well, it was like the free chili that was offered.
That was good chili, though.
You're not kidding. Number 1.
Yeah.
Celebrate Rhinoceros Creek Reservation. As you know, this is a 115-acre parcel that was donated to the Somers Land Trust. We're pleased to enter it into our open space in our town. So Sunday, October 20th from 2 to 4, that's 401 Route 202 Somers. It's an official ribbon cutting and family fun event. You know where Rhinoceros Creek is?
I'm familiar.
Yeah.
They put a pavilion. They put a
Yeah, it's right down
pavilion
here.
up.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they have a trail clearing, I think, this weekend over there, where they're actually clearing something where you can.
More-
Well,
yeah.
so it's more like Angle Flat, but
And when they first did it, when they were laying out the trails, some of the scouts, including my son, went over and helped with them. That was when they first purchased it, before the pavilion or anything.
Pavilion's
cool.
nice though.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Okay, Community YMCA 23rd Annual Halloween Parade is Sunday, October 27th, 11:45 a.m. Lineup, step off at 12 p.m. Reese Park, 82 Primrose Street. Free family event, trick or treat, games, costume, and contest. And the most awaited event in the town of Somers, for those of you with private information you want shredded. Mobile shredders coming to Somers, Monday, 10/28, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Reese Park, 82 Primrose Street. I usually get down there and kick off this event, and I'm telling you, people are so appreciative to be getting rid of, I don't know what they're getting rid of, frankly, but it gets
You're not supposed to.
shredded.
That's why
And
they're
actually, there's a window when you dump this stuff in, you can watch it get shredded. But I don't encourage people to
Where's that
stop and
paperless
watch it.
society?
Samaritan's Purse, Operation Christmas Child. This is PAC. pack and operation of Christmas Child shoebox. Shoe boxes will be collected November 18th, Monday, November 25th. Affirmation Presbyterian Church, which is at 1 Primrose Street, junctions of Route 100, 139. Drop-off hours will be available, and you can call 914-643-6983. And this is a really great operation. They pack anything you can fit into a shoebox, child's school supplies, little toys, non-perishables, and they get shipped all over the world.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
And you can put actually a little note in your own, and the kid that gets it will respond to you.
Oh, very good.
So
It's
yeah,
the third year, isn't it? Third
Yeah.
year they've done that?
Yes.
That's cool.
So with that,
I have one more.
Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't have it on there. This Saturday at Reese Park is Soccer Fest.
It is.
I know because
I knew one of you.
I know because the scouts are going to be doing the food, so Tommy and I will be there at 6:30. At least Tommy will be. Thank God he's got a car. But I don't know the exact times. I'm sure it starts at somewhere like 10 or 11 or something like that, or maybe even 8 o'clock for the little ones. But it's pretty much all day at Reese Park. So it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. Come on out.
And the library is closed that day.
And the library is closed that day.
Yeah,
Because of
that's
it.
always a well-attended event.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very good.
My
And especially when you have
grandkids will be
nice
there,
weather.
which means I'll be there.
Three greatest days in town.
Okay, any other?
Two things. Just another welcome to the White Plains Physicians Associates who opened up a shop at the CVS Plaza. We welcome them and appreciate their help and the service they'll be providing to Somers. And then on a much more unfortunate note, there's a family that suffered a tragedy here in Somers and lost a young daughter. They want to keep things quiet, but let them know that our thoughts and prayers are with them and their family.
I appreciate you bringing that up, and I would just ask for a moment of silence. Prayers for the family. Thank you. Our next town board meeting,
Go ahead, no, I don't want to ruin the thunder there.
okay, will be October 10th, at which time we're going to have a public hearing, consider a petition to extend and join the Amawak-Shenorock Water District to 3 Cardinal Way. And we also have a public hearing on the proposed law to amend Chapter 158 entitled Vehicles, Traffic, Parking Prohibited in Designated Locations. And this has to do with parking around the new trail over in Lake Shenorock.
And anything on the sewer district?
Well,
No public hearing.
Well, we don't have.
There's always public comment.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should
Always have an engineer.
bring it.
Always have an engineer.
I mean, in some way, if all these people thought they were coming to the right place and they were at the wrong place, regardless of why it happened, you know, they should have.
We'll give them the benefit of the
Yeah,
doubt.
don't worry about it.
I think,
Yeah, I'm going to make the motion to adjourn.
They've scheduled, our Lake Sustainability Committee has been meeting in these both communities since 2017. Most times, it doesn't conflict with our meetings. Tonight, it did. But I did let certain individuals know this well in advance, and if people had technical questions, which some did.
They did.
They would be answered at the clubhouse. They were more than welcome here. I think this board was very gracious with the time allotted under public comment.
I think we changed it from 3 to 20 minutes.
well, we didn't conduct public comment. We actually had a question and answer period, which
That's
is.
exactly
But perhaps it would be
Which
good
is
to
fine,
have
I
an
guess.
engineer, someone who can answer
No.
technical questions.
Right.
And invite anyone who wants to
Our main
come on back next week
town
with those
engineer was
questions.
out of town.
And Ken was already booked.
Right, so.
Can I just make one quick remark? You know, vaping's been in the news. It's risen to a national epidemic. People are actually dying.
Yeah.
Vaping, certain substances. Last week, you and I were at the high school
house.
open house, And I'm pleased to say that the
Presentation
yeah,
that
the
Mark Barry-
presentation that Mark Barry, he's on the Partners in Prevention as well. He had a serious and concise presentation to the parents at their
I
assembly.
understand that was very emotional.
Yeah, I mean, he.
I meant to mention it when you,
Yeah, I
thanks
mean,
for
he
bringing
was,
it up.
he's talking about, vaping, and he gave about 10 minutes to it, talked about the national epidemic, the dying of people, as well as, the challenges that we're having here in our town. We've been on the right side of this whole thing from the very, very beginning. We essentially legislated out vaping
Vape shops?
shops out of this town, and we're prepared to take a similar step with if marijuana becomes legalized. And look, I mean, I think everybody just needs to raise their level of awareness. Even if their children are not involved in this, you just need to understand about their friends and how this thing occurs and how dangerous it really is. They're using bootleg substances with things that might be legal, and they're causing adverse impacts to their health. And their
Well, they
lives.
still don't know. Is it the stuff that's being vaped, or is it the vapor mechanism itself and what's being mixed in? And these deaths, they really haven't been able to figure out, here's why. And so until they have a cause, nobody should do anything with that, in my opinion.
Well, I think Vermont has outlawed e-cigarettes.
Yeah.
I think I read that.
Well, they're putting like vitamin E with.
It's the vitamin E oil that seems to be one of the culprits.
Essentially inhaling oil because it gives that plume look.
Or something.
But people are getting sick, very sick from this, so.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for the time.
Yeah, no, thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to
Make a
adjourn.
motion, we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Good night, so.